All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Call to order the Senate of Virginia's Local Government Committee. If the clerk will open the roll for attendance.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do, and let me see if I can get this straight. I will, thank you. So the first thing, I am told that by the patron of Senate Bill 1260, that the patron wants that bill stricken.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second to strike Senate Bill 1260. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll.
Seven ayes, 0 nays.
7 ayes, 0 nays, and that bill is stricken from the active docket. Next is Senate Bill 1783, Senator Boysko. We had gotten an email from her office that she wishes that Senate Bill 1783 be stricken. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Motion is second, properly supporting that motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll.
Eight ayes, 0 nays.
8 ayes, 0 nays, and that bill is stricken. All right, there's another bill, which is Senate Bill 1707. Is Senator Chafin here? So I don't really know this. The Finance has requested that this be sent to him. Is that correct, Senator? So we could either hear it and send it on, or let him just worry about it up there in Finance.
Let him worry about it up there.
Let him worry about it. Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Let it work. The motion's been made to let him worry about it up there in Finance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second being properly made. What?
They did want to make a line amendment that would cut this one.
Would you like to withdraw leave it up to?
Withdraw that amendment.
Thank you. Or that a motion. All right, so we have a line amendment as well. DB, you want to read it?
The line amendment is just to strike lines 97 to 110, which is that entire section of the bill.
All right, everybody understand that? Anybody care? Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the line amendment?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second being properly made to adopt the line amendment. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the line amendment signify by saying aye. Aye, all opposed, same sign. Line amendment is adopted. Proper motion would be to report and re-refer this to Finance. Is there any motion on that?
Report and re-refer to Finance.
Properly made motion to report and re-refer to Finance on Senate Bill 1707. Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second, properly supporting the motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk, open the roll. And we are cooking. All right.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
7 ayes, 0 nays. Oh, I'm not voting for this stuff. I apologize. The bill is reported and re-referred to Finance. Before we get started, of course, is our nature. We always like to say hi to our very valuable and wonderful pages. If you'll come forward to the microphone here and introduce yourself so your mom and dad can see you on TV.
Is this thing on? Okay. Hi, my name is Peter Huff. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I'm 13 years old and glad to be here. It's a great program and I'm having a great time. Thank you.
That is awesome right there.
My name is Jackson Wills. I'm 14 and I'm from Roanoke and I am also having a great time here.
Excellent. Welcome, gentlemen. Oh, you're such a downer. All right. Welcome, gentlemen. And as we know, whatever we need here in the committee, our pages will do things for. So if you need their help, don't be afraid to ask for it. Okay. Let's move on to the regular docket. Looks like we have, how many bills left now? 18? 18 bills left. And are we going to have a meeting next Tuesday, guys? No, because that's crossover. Okay. So this is our last meeting. I'm so sad. Let's just hold for a moment and enjoy it for what it is. Anything to delay Senator McDougal from coming up and presenting his bill. No, we're not ready for you yet. I haven't called you.
Never wait for an invitation, Mr. Chairman.
You have never in your life.
Never. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to give you a second opportunity to support the prosperous Northern Neck because I know how excited you are since Tobacco Commission money helps South Side and Southwest Virginia, that the original tobacco producing region of the Commonwealth, the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula, should have that same prominence that the South Side and Southwest gets, and just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to so vote that way. So with Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 1785 is an enterprise zone. We found out late in the game that that is expiring with, after being some conversation with the administration, we're trying to extend this, but there are some line amendments to make sure we do it properly. This was one of the first enterprise zones created, and because of the nature of rural enterprise zones, the impact to projects in the enterprise zone is substantial, but the impact to the entire system is not significant because the number of projects are not as great as in some of the urban areas. And Mr. Chairman, I do have some individuals from Richmond County but specifically Warsaw here that drove down from the Great Northern Neck just to visit with you today.
Senator McDougal, is there, hold on, are there any questions of the patron?
Do you think Jeff has an amendment?
Okay, the amendment first.
Mr. Chairman, there's two line amendments. They're both on line 46. The first one, after the word zones, insert the phrase designated on or after July 1st, 2005. And the second line amendment, also on line 46, after the word periods, insert the phrase and zones designated prior to July 1st, 2005 for 1 5-year renewal period.
Okay, we have heard the amendment. Is there a motion to adopt the amendment? Motion is second, properly supporting the motion to adopt the amendment, the line amendments you've just heard. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the line amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And the line amendments have been adopted. The bill is before us, but Senator McDougal, we talk about enterprise zones. What kind of success rate has this area seen from this designation?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to let Mr. Quisenberry is here, the county.
You don't know yourself?
Mr. Chairman.
You lack knowledge?
I'm going to let the people dealing with this day in and day out talk to you. It's better to have the expert. You don't need hearsay.
Amen, brother. And we don't need summary judgment either, okay? Welcome.
Quisenberry, thank you. It's nice to see you again. I'm Patrick
Yes, sir.
County native, so
Yes, sir.
it's always nice to see you.
Yes,
I want
sir.
to thank Senator McDougal for working with us. We have
You
gotten
want
into.
your bill to pass, right?
What's that?
You want your bill to pass, right?
Absolutely.
Don't do that.
Oh,
Don't think
okay. Well, I'm going to just read off it. I'll be brief. I want to thank everybody here for listening to us. This is a huge opportunity for the Warsaw Northern Neck and really every rural and economically disadvantaged area in the state. Locally, we have about 2 or 3 projects coming up that are going to have an impact of probably around 500,000 to 600,000 in Warsaw. So it's very important for our area, important for the Northern Neck. And our town council worked together and passed a resolution, and we've gotten with Colonial Beach and some of the counties, and we've all sort of teamed together, and we'd like to see this language go through.
Is there any questions for the witness? Now, you heard my question, right?
What's that?
How successful have you been? I mean, does it really make a difference for you?
Very successful.
Just
a lot
one-
of times we get letters from banks asking for favorable lending practices for private development. How much are they going to get with the enterprise zone? So that helps them out on that. We have a brewery project, a manufacturing facility that are all going to be applying this year. So we're looking at probably over $500,000 just in our little 3 square miles.
Fantastic. That's good to hear. All right, are there any other questions of the witness? Seeing none, thank you very much, sir, as always,
Thank you.
for what you do.
Thank you. Good
for
seeing
your
you
area.
again.
Mr. Chairman, I think there are a couple other people that came down.
Sure, come on
wanna-
up.
Okay. They don't want to talk, Mr. Chairman.
Do you know Senator McDougal, or was that just kind of a,
They
it's just
don't
pointing
wanna-
at
they're
anybody?
just- Their support from Warsaw.
Okay, great. Any questions of the patron? This body operates by motion, of
Move the bill
course.
be reported.
Motion to report Senate Bill 1785, and I've heard a second that properly supports it. Is there any discussion on this bill? I'll remind Senator McDougal that he votes against a lot of my legislation, I think out of spite. So I hope you understand if this is just getting back at you. All right, clerk, open the roll. Close the roll.
11 ayes, 0 nays.
11 ayes, 0 nays. That's the first time that's ever happened to you.
In this committee, Mr. Chairman, I'm very disappointed I will not be able to present this on the floor, and we talk about it at length.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which
Thank
this
you,
bill
Mr.
was
Chairman.
adopted. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a little bit of surgery here. Is Senator Edwards here? Oh, good. Then we're not going to do it. Senator Dance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm back again as instructed with my Senate Bill 1363, which is a charter bill that delineates responsibilities between the city manager and the collector of city taxes. On Friday of last week, the city, its appropriate administrative staff and from the city council, the city manager's office, finance, as well as the city treasurer, and we had the assistance of the former president of the Treasurers Association from Wise County, Ms. Dolores W. Smith, who is a certified public accountant for master governmental treasurers, as well as a certified accountant treasurer from the locality of Dinwiddie County. And we are all in agreement, and there is one change that we would make from the document that's before you is
Do we have a line amendment?
one line a minute, line 33.
DB, do you have it and you'd like to report it?
Mr. Chair,
It's just one line a minute. I think my aide might have gave you two, but it's one line a minute, 33. Okay.
unless I'm mistaken, I think we actually already adopted that line amendment last week. And
And
just to
now-
repeat it, it's on
Okay.
line 33, after the word manager. It's striking the word shall and inserting the word may.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, so Senator Dance, we had a very long discussion on this matter, which I don't think we need to relitigate. I think you knew what the issues were with this committee when it came to respecting the constitutional officers and those offices that they hold, that they're bigger than the person who may occupy them for the time being. And certainly we were hopeful that Petersburg would work with its treasurer in a way that would be productive and that we wouldn't see the problems that we had seen before, previous to this new treasurer, happen again. And we understand that the new treasurer needs to get up on things and move along as well. And hopefully the city of Petersburg is restaffing his office a little better than they did.
Mr. Chairman, if you would allow me, I will let you know that I have the treasurer. All of you, can I just have them come on up? They don't expect.
Do you want them just to hug on camera
They just
and
want to
then-
come up and let you see who come with me as far as the delegation to say.
Are they smiling? Are
they're
they laughing?
smiling.
Are they hugging?
Okay, I've got
See,
the
was there a
mayor,
hug? There's a hug. We have a hug.
I've got the city manager.
There you
I've
go,
got the
guys.
treasurer.
There
I've
we
got them
go.
all, okay?
Excellent.
And all the support.
That's what I wanted to see. Guys,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you, and especially to your fine senator for the efforts, the Herculean efforts that you've asserted, not only to right the ship in Petersburg, to take care of the issues that are there, but also to come together and know that, you know, it's an office rather than a man or a woman that occupies it. And more importantly, you have those great citizens of the city of Petersburg that you need to take care of, and it looks like you're taking care of them. So I want to thank you all for really taking to heart what we said to you all. We listened to you. We understand your frustrations, but at the same time, you got to win as a team. And we expect big things from the city of Petersburg.
Thank you, Mr.
So is there anybody else? So thank you. I can't thank you enough, really.
Mr. Chairman.
You know, and let me tell you, I don't like to make Senator Dance mad, and I was very afraid. So thank you for making sure I didn't have to find out about that later. Senator Carrico.
Just to mention that my treasurer couldn't be here today, but she came all the way from Wise County
Right.
to Petersburg to assist them with their process.
And Senator Carrico, what I understand is she's going to be mentoring
She is.
in that
Yes.
process. And that's, we've got great constitutional officers. That office in and of itself is a very great group of men and women that serve a very good purpose. So we expect big things. We're gonna keep an eye on y'all, but we want the best for you at all times. So congratulations on working it out. That's really what we always hope for. Because your bill was dead, Senator Dance. I mean, dead. I mean, DED dead.
Are you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion, sure.
Okay, so I want to.
I'm ready for a cocktail, I think.
Did we adopt that in the last?
We did adopt it.
Already
So
done.
then I move that we adopt the amended bill before us.
So the motion is to report the bill as amended. Second being properly supporting the motion. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll. Sorry, the Steph was a nay. He's probably not going to be a nay on what the amended was, but I'm just following his list. So, but we'll get to hear you talk about all the great things about the great city of Petersburg. So it'll be great, Senator Dance.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Close the
11 ayes,
roll.
1 nay.
11 ayes, 1 nay. The bill's Senate Bill 1363 reports. And ladies and gentlemen, if you all need anything from us, just call Senator Dance. Talk to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it. All right. Who is next? Senator Deeds.
That's Senate Bill 1479. Now, last week I asked you to let it go by because there was a lot of concern about it. That the stakeholders met with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and we've got a substitute. I think there's still concern about it, so it's just a matter of presenting it and then seeing if there's any way to figure it out.
So where are you?
There's a substitute.
Okay.
And the substitute represents the conversations, but I think there's still some consternation about the bill.
Okay.
What,
All right, let's get your bill in proper form. Is there a motion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute? Hearing a very gentle motion down there to my left. That's more bold. Is there a second?
Second.
Second being very bold from my right. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The amendment in the nature of a substitute is adopted and before the committee.
and what the bill does in substitute form now, and when property's being rezoned from agriculture to some sort of developmental residential or some sort of use where development could occur, there's a process for where the locality can, by ordinance, which means they have to hold a public hearing, all the process for an ordinance, to require a submission of what they're trying to do, submission of knowledge of karst territory, and they can develop any karst management, require the development of a karst management plan. They can also require that there be some disclosure to buyers in a karst area. And the problem here is in large portions of the western part of the state, the territory is karst. Those are rock formations where 25% of the world's water flows through karst rock. But sinkholes develop, and the idea here is to protect the consumer from developments in karst areas that are going to collapse on them.
Okay, so you're not protecting the karst, you're protecting the
Protecting
consumer.
the consumer. That's what it's all about. And we've got some folks here from DCR who can do a better job of explaining what the bill is. And then there's some other folks that want to talk too.
Well, I think you did a pretty good job. You educated us all on karsts. I thought I was going to have to refer this to transportation.
All right.
Turns out this is a sinkhole. I know. Bad joke. Please come forward. Any questions of the patron before the guest comes forward? No. Sir, please.
Mr.
Welcome.
Chairman, members of the committee, Tom Smith from the Department of Conservation and Recreation. Thank you for considering this. So as Senator Deeds has said, much of the western part of Virginia is in karst landscape. So basically you have limestone, water flows through it. It creates voids under the ground that you can't see from the surface. It creates sinkholes you can see, caves. And right now, local governments don't have any jurisdiction to have an ordinance dealing with development of that kind of property. So, we get requests at DCR from localities saying a development's going in, sinkholes are being filled, what can we do? And it's not a bad thing to fill sinkholes. You just want to do it in the proper way. And you want homeowners to know that 10 or 20 years down the road that they purchased a house that's been built on a sinkhole. You can buy sinkhole insurance, and there's good state-of-the-art practices for filling sinkholes. And so we spent a lot of time over the past week, as Senator Deed said, working with different groups that had concerns about this bill, trying to fully exempt the agriculture community because there was concern there, as well as realtors and some pipeline folks. Okay. So we feel like we've done the best we can do. And at the bottom line, we think this is just good public policy to protect consumers.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the witness? Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious, this doesn't relate specifically to your language, but home insurance plans, home insurance policies, are they more expensive for homes built in these areas?
Not currently, no.
Not currently, okay. But you would say that there could be.
But the problem right now is there's no requirement of disclosure when a house is built in a karst area. And part of what this bill is requires disclosure if you know a karst, you're building in a karst area.
Right. But I mean, it's so I think the disclosure requirement is really important. Follow-up question, Mr. Chairman? Have there been situations where homes have, sunk a little or been damaged because of the karst area? Maybe you don't want to say that publicly. I don't know.
I mean, the sort of estimates in the sort of mid-Atlantic region, so Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, for repairs from this karst subsidence range from 50,000 to the millions when you're talking about larger buildings or transportation projects.
I think this is a well-needed bill. Thank you.
All right, well, you got one vote. Yes, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question, Tom. It says mitigation and protection. Are there some circumstances where some karst can be filled in and other circumstances where it can't be filled in? Is it a matter of practicality, or is there any law governing what you're allowed to do?
There's not a law covering what you're allowed to do, so it would really be a decision by the developer. There are good state-of-the-art practices for filling sinkholes, and so that is done. And the decision may be that it's more expensive to fill a sinkhole and we'll just move away from it. So that's why there's that option in there of mitigation. And it's not just sinkholes. It could be voids under the ground and other features.
So, Senator Deeds, what you said there was still some heat on this or some controversy.
Yes, sir.
Where are the difference? Have a difference?
Our folks here,
because this is a permissive bill. It's a may ordinance.
It's a May ordinance. I think initially some of the because the pipelines are coming through karst territory, some of the pipelines thought this was aimed at them. It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with it. And it was, I think by spelling out that it was only applied when you rezone property, we made clear it's not applying to pipelines. There were some other groups, I think, that just had some concern that this might limit their use of property. And we expect those groups are in the room where their representatives are.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Carrico.
So having several of these in the areas that I represent, isn't it true that a lot of these sinkholes are because of underground streams that actually come through, and then you have a 100-year storm that occurs that washes a huge amount of earth away, and a lot of areas over the process of filling these sinkholes in try to reroute the stream and cover it up to be able to build on that area.
Well, it's a real issue in your part of the state and my part of the state too, because the underground, the flow of water is not something we really understand. And it goes to the rock, and sometimes when there are these 100-year floods that seem to happen with more and more frequency, they affect the flow of the streams. And people out my way filling sinkholes with dead animals or junk. And if that property's developed, the whole idea is that people ought to know what it is. Because, well, that's what this bill's about. You're right that the underground water is what causes the caves.
Okay. Is there anyone who wants to speak in support of this bill? Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Uh-oh.
Mr. Chairman?
Now it got real. Shimmer's up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we appreciate working with Senator Deeds, and
And who are you, sir?
I'm Rob Shin, representing EQM.
And
We
who
do
are
not-
they?
We do not have a problem with
Who
the
is EQM?
pipeline
Okay,
developer.
pipeline. Okay, thank you.
So we don't have a problem with the overall thrust of the bill, and the intent, I think, is probably very well intended with the residential to agricultural zoning change. Our remaining issue is just with the lines, I think it's on line 15, or other development of real property zoning classification. We're in this awkward place with the pipelines, and it could really pertain to a lot of public service corporations where you might have a local government against a project that is otherwise preempted. A lot of the preemption rules say you have to exhaust your remedies at the local government. So if you had an instance where we were trying to rezone for some kind of support structure, the local government could say, all right, we're going to require you to do
Mr. Chairman,
1, 2, and 3.
this is, I think he's reading from the original version of the bill, not the substitute.
Yes.
Does he have the
You
substitute
need to get a good
language?
one.
Oh, yeah, I've just got different lines
Thank you,
on
Senator
mine.
McPike.
So this would be,
It's even different language, even from agriculture to residential use.
Let's see if they have an
That's,
epiphany
I
here.
believe that's removed, Mr. Chairman.
Senator McPike, you are correct. For once.
okay, so since the last time we spoke,
Okay.
I think we are,
Because now, from an agricultural use to a residential use or other non-agricultural zone classification.
This development, as other development interest is still in there.
Where's the development?
or other non-agricultural.
Okay, zoning classification.
So I guess the question would be, what exactly, or other non-agricultural zoning
Line 12.
classification? Line 12. Other non-agricultural zoning classification, that would seemingly capture a lot of other
It
things.
is vague. Let me ask legal counsel, what is your interpretation, since one of you, Jeff Sharp wrote it. Jeff, what do you mean by other non-agricultural zoning classifications, sir?
That is very broad language, Mr. Chairman, that would literally, as it states, cover every other zoning classification that's not agricultural in nature.
Follow-up question, would that include utilities, building pipelines, or electrical utility stations, or transfer stations, or
If it was,
laying electrical line down into the ground? Would that affect that as well?
Mr. Chairman, this bill as drafted applies in a situation where someone is seeking a rezoning from an agricultural use to a non-agricultural use.
True.
So it would only be applied in that instance where someone was actively seeking a rezoning.
And
Which does occur in commercial and utility
Yeah,
type
but
transactions, correct?
As I see it, wherever development occurs, Mr. Chairman, if you are building a warehouse or a retail establishment, and that might be a non-agricultural, that's other non-agricultural.
Senator Deeds, let me ask you this. If I give you a little bit of time maybe to see if there's a wordsmithing, I think if there's a way to tighten up other non-agricultural a little to mean, because look, when you came before us today, and I truly believe you, that this is about the consumer.
It is about the consumer.
And
It's about
it's not about stopping, things by using little loopholes, right? I'm going to pass this by temporarily, and we're going to get on to other things. Because, Cree, I want your bill to succeed, but I think I understand what their problem is, and that is pretty broad definition. As a lawyer, I hate broad definitions.
Okay, just strike or other non-agricultural zoning classification, leave it to protect residential consumers.
Okay.
And I think that takes care of the
All right, is there a motion for that?
Second.
A motion to amend, a line amendment proposed by the patron, and a second properly supporting it. Is there any discussion on that line amendment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And the amendment is adopted. Now, Mr. Shin, are you fine? I've got the thumbs up there, Cree. You're looking good all of a sudden. Come forward, please. Long time no see, my friend.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Felix Sarfo-Quintanca with Dominion Energy, and we associate the amendment with, we're supportive of that amendment, so.
Dominion Energy, Felix?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wow. A sellout. A sellout. I love Felix. I'm sorry. I love him to death. All right. So we got peace in the valley, Craig.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move that we report the bill as amended.
Senator Favola is moving to report the bill as amended. Is there a second? There's a second being properly supporting that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll. Trying to figure these out, guys, so slow down the roll a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Deeds. Excellent job.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 1479 reports. All right, we're going to call up Senator Reeves. So we got a little housekeeping. Maybe take care of 2 bills at 1 stone.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, Senator.
I have before the committee Senate Bill 1091, and I believe there's an amendment in the nature of substitute. We can take that up
Yes,
first.
there is. But first, yeah, and then we'll roll my name. Let's get it in the proper form. Pages, if you can pass out the substitute. Anyone interested can pick one up on the table once they're finished passing them out. Afternoon, Mr. Reeves.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Good to see you, sir.
It's good to be out of privileges and elections.
I'm sure. Do you want us to slow this down a little bit so you don't have to go back?
We could, if you'd
Okay.
like. No,
Well,
we're
we'll
good.
talk real slow. How's that? Thank you. Senator Reeves, let me ask you a question before we adopt the amendment. Is this identical to what we were both driving at with my bill as well?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
This is the Peace in the Valley, big comprehensive bill.
All right, so let's, why don't you explain the amendment, and then we'll accept the motion?
Mr. Chairman, this bill is a result of your hard work, my hard work, and the hard work of truly a lot of people involved in this industry and local governments, VML, VACO, and the rest. I couldn't have done it without Mr. Dix, who was pretty instrumental in this. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, this bill is the genesis. For me personally, in my district, I have the largest solar farm on the East Coast, 5th largest in the nation coming in. That's approximately 6,800 and some odd acres. And one of the concerns of my constituency is that there was no assurances that 35 years down the road, that if these companies are still solvent, would they be able to decommission these? And so I believe what the work product you see before you allows those assurances in this type of industry, but it goes along with what's pretty much standard building procedures if you're going to build a commercial building or anything else that allows the localities to have control over those matters. So we're not taking that and putting it at the state level, but the localities are still owning those, approving those. And it falls much in line, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, with if you're going to develop a piece of property, if you had to put in stormwater management ponds, you'd have to put some form of surety in place that would last the perpetuity of that property. And decommissioning, at some point, the life of that project or that product is going to be hit its lifespan and have to do something with that. And due to the technical nature of some of these panels, with cadmium and all of those things, there is a certain level of environmental risk when you go to decommission those. So that's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman. Again, I can't tell you how many hours Mr. Dix worked with VML, VACO, and all the stakeholders to make sure that we had the bill in the form it is now.
And Senator Reeves, this has the stamp of approval from the Rubin Group. Is that right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So he has explained the amendment. Is there a motion to adopt the amendment in the nature of a substitute?
So moved.
Second.
Motion being made that Senate Bill 1091, the amendment in the nature of the substitute, be adopted. Motion and second being made. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adopting the
No, you're good. You're gonna roll
Okay,
it
you
next.
started pointing at me.
No.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And the amendment in the nature of substitute has been adopted in 1091. The second thing that we're going to do is, my Senate bill is identical and lower. I put my idea in later than he did.
1398.
1398. So I'll entertain right now a motion to roll Senate Bill 1398 into 1091, keeping the 1091 number and making Senator Reeves and Senator Stanley chief co-patrons. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion and second being properly made. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, or no, open the roll. Close the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 1398 is rolled into Senate Bill 1091. All right, now, is there anybody who would like to speak in favor, or first, if they have any questions of Senator Reeves? Hearing none. Anyone would like to speak in favor of the bill? Welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Shippey, Sierra Club, we support the revised bill.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Vivian Giles, I'm the county administrator and county attorney in Cumberland County. There is a work group of some localities in the western part of the state who are looking at and considering solar issues. Those counties are Appomattox, Buckingham. I'm chairman of this little work group, by the way, so I'm here for these guys. Appomattox, Buckingham, I know, I think I was late to the meeting, so I got to be chair. Appomattox, Buckingham, Charlotte, Cumberland, Halifax, Mecklenburg, Amelia, and Lunenburg, definitely. And we generally support this bill and appreciate the work to ensure local control over this, and we like that and applaud the fact that this gives the localities the opportunity to control this development. The only thing that stood out is on lines 30 and 31, it talks about the entering into an agreement upon certain conditions, and it includes two provisions. If we would appreciate the ability for the agreement to include perhaps other issues if each locality has different concerns and different items that they may want to address. So if upon were changed to the words "to include," that would leave open to, that would just clarify in our
Are
opinion.
you reading off the same one I am?
Possibly not.
Pages, can you give her
I
a
have an
copy?
electronic version.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
could she clarify where those counties are from? I think she said western part of the state.
Yeah, not that far west.
I was gonna
West of Richmond. Yes, yes, you're correct. Thank you.
So,
Oh, dear.
choosing the engineering that you guys use typically when you go to.
We're very particular about our areas.
Okay. I apologize. I must have been looking at a.
That's okay.
You were looking at probably the one before that.
Possibly so. My apologies. I was looking at an electronic version that.
Look, absolutely fine. You'd be amazed. Even the patrons start reading off of their old bills while they're presenting them after they're amended. So.
Yeah, it was just, the only concern was to clarify that any agreement would be broad enough to allow for other provisions. So that's all.
Thank you for
Thank
coming up
you.
here and letting us know. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
but we appreciate the Senate and the Assembly looking out for local control.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate
Local
that.
control is important.
Yes, thank you.
All right, anybody else want to speak out in favor of or against this bill? This very fine bill. Is there a motion to report the bill?
So moved.
Motion to report it being made and properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, clerk open the roll. Close roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 1091 passes. Thank you, Senator Reeves, for
Thank you,
your
Mr.
great
Chairman.
hard work
Thank
on
you.
this bill. So proud to be his chief co-patron on this. All right, sorry we had to just do that very quickly. Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is SB 1701 dealing with short-term rentals. The committee may remember that, I guess it was last year, we had HB 824 that relaxed Lexington and Virginia Beach's restrictions on short-term rentals But this is even more narrowly drafted. Right now, the situation is in Fairfax County, there have been a number of restrictions put on people who operate short-term rentals like Airbnbs or HomeAways. And this bill just seeks to relax two of the restrictions, the number of nights that someone can operate one from 60 days in a calendar year to 180 days. That would make it consistent with other localities nearby. And it would, right now, I think 60 days is kind of onerous on the people who've gone to the trouble to outfit their homes or want to advertise their homes as a source of extra income, to basically say the county is trying to clamp down to the point where you wouldn't really have an Airbnb or a HomeAway in your residence.
Senator Eben, though, didn't we comprehensively try to address that and enable the localities with local empowerment to, they could not prohibit short-term rentals, but they could put some regulations on it that ensured,
That's
that
right.
communities were not disrupted and turned into, holiday
Sure.
inns.
Well, there's a number of provisions maintained in the ordinance. Fairfax County has put a number of provisions in place that this bill does not seek to overturn. Right now, you have to get a $200 permit in Fairfax, which was not what we contemplated under our registry. We have homeowners associations, community or condo associations still have the ability to prohibit fees. Fairfax chose to have a maximum of 6 lodgers, which we don't touch. There's only 1 contract per property, which we don't touch, regardless of how many rooms. Events are prohibited, like banquets, weddings, meetings, or fundraisers. We don't touch that in this bill. The permit number has to be posted, and parking space, transit options listed. We're not restricting that, and so on and so forth. One of the things that's notable is that the transient occupancy tax is to be remitted monthly, and if we were to allow the estimated 1,500 or so, 1,549 by the county's estimate of these proprietors in the county to operate within the system, we could get a lot more revenue for both the county and for the state from their transient occupancy tax, as well as state taxes. They have a complaint-driven process that they can shut these places down if they're bad actors. They're open for inspection by county personnel. They have to be up to code, and so forth. They have to designate at least one person who consents to serve as an authorized agent, and maintain a guest log available to the county, and so on. Really, this is a narrow bill, similar to, not as more narrow than Lexington and Virginia Beach. The Fairfax County Board in July adopted an ordinance regulating these facilities. The neighboring localities like Arlington or Alexandria have less restrictive ordinances, which encourage people to collect the transient occupancy tax and to rely on existing zoning tools. One subset of short-term rentals in Fairfax, which are Airbnb, were estimated to generate $6.6 million in annual revenue in 2019. And we know that kind of piece to the economy is getting bigger. And you can hear from our witnesses the kinds of rentals they're doing. This is not for parties at a drinking parties. These are people who are responsible visitors. Fairfax has a high hotel occupancy rate. And I would just say, if we're going to make the short-term rental operators jump through as many hoops as the county has installed, and that's their right, we should at least allow the host to rent for 180 days. Otherwise, I don't really feel it's a good faith experiment to allow short-term rentals. It's regulations that are designed to squash them. And the other piece of the bill was to allow them to have it in not just their primary residence, but one other property. And I don't know if there are any questions or.
Are there any questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sherville, welcome.
Thank you. Given that this involves my house and my county, or one of my counties, my 3 counties. Fairfax County, how many days did Fairfax County say you can actually rent a house for?
60.
Okay, only 60 days for the entire year?
That's right.
Okay, and this would triple that, right?
Yeah, it would take it up to 180 days.
Okay. I don't have any other questions right now.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Favela.
This is, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, this does this just apply to the urban executive,
Yeah,
county manager form of government? So there would, so a certain number, do we need 2/3?
I
votes
believe
in
it's
each body?
special legislation that it is urban county executive form of government. And I guess that's up, Senator Sturville seems to have he knows his parliamentary procedure perhaps better than me.
It's a majority because it's the urban executive, and we don't specifically name Fairfax. That's
That's
why.
correct,
Because
but
in theory, any county could be the
If they have
urban
that,
executive.
if they have
Okay.
that form of government, but to my knowledge, Fairfax is the only
Thank you.
one.
Any other questions from the committee?
Okay, we have some witnesses.
Do we have some folks come up in favor of the bill? Welcome. State your name, where you're from.
My name is Laura Nicewander. I'm a resident of Fairfax County in Alexandria, and I've met with several of the senators on the committee here. And my question to you is, how do I look? I look like a normal, healthy individual, but I'm not. I suffer from an invisible illness that has devastated my life. I have 2 special needs children that I have to care for. And being able to rent my home was a godsend. At my sickest point, I could wake up and get my children in the kitchen for cereal and milk and then hustle them out the door to the bus stop. That's all I could do for the entire day. I cannot work a regular job. Both of my children are already on Medicaid. I qualify for Medicaid now, but I don't want to be on it. I want to be able to support myself. I want you to please vote in favor of this bill to allow people like me and another one of our witnesses who had to leave because she couldn't stay for this late. She's a trauma care nurse at Walter Reed. She has cared for our veterans that come back from several wars for 12 years. She developed compassion fatigue. She took 6 months off. When she was ready to go back, she also had a chronic illness. She has to rent rooms out in her house to supplement her income because when she did go back to work, she lost $35,000 a year. So this is a really important way. We feel like this is a very fair compromise and that this still allows us to be able to support ourselves, support our families, while still preserving the communities that we live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Tell us who you are, where are you from?
Good afternoon. Senators, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with us, and Senator Eben for bringing this bill to life. My name is Tricia Moore, and I'm the founder of Citizens for STR. We really are a grassroots organization that formed last May as a response to our property rights just being taken away. Our hundreds of members include the elderly, military veterans, single moms, disabled, nuns, nurses, and teachers. These hundreds of members within our organization actually use this income to pay for bills, mortgages, medical expenses, or pay for their kids' college. But we represent a very small amount of the people that actually do these rentals. There are thousands in Fairfax County and tens of thousands within the state of Virginia. We rent to people that come to Arlington Cemetery for funerals. We rent to people that are coming back from tours on the military or from the State Department. We rent to very high-level corporate executives from Verizon, or I've rented to people from Capital One. General Assembly actually passed that bill, and they intended to register people and collect TOT tax. But Fairfax went beyond the intention of the bill. They exacted an overzealous regulation, ignoring what the General Assembly mandated, and the vast majority of their own residents. And in fact, Fairfax did their own survey, and it showed that 82% of their people were in favor of short-term rentals. What Fairfax County did was completely shut down the home sharing economy by only allowing people to rent 60 days annually. Fairfax is really violating our constitutional rights by requiring that we collect and provide personal information of our guests and our hosts on demand without cause. This is more than an oversight, as most of the ordinance is. Last year, the General Assembly came back together. They overturned another overreaching local ordinance in Lexington and Virginia Beach by passing HB 824. We really want equal treatment. We appreciate your support of SB 1701.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your advocacy. Okay, we have other bills to go through, so let's, if we can, just quickly.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Robert Ross. I'm a longtime resident of Fairfax County, Virginia. I'm a disabled veteran, and I'm self-employed Virginia real estate broker and have been for many years. I own 2 single-family residences in Fairfax County that have been in short-term rental programs for over 2 years. I'm strongly in favor of Senator Adam Evans' Bill 1701, short-term rentals, regulation, urban county, executive form of government. Recently, Fairfax County Board of Supervisors adopted an ordinance to regulate short-term rentals. I believe that this ordinance adopted by Fairfax County Board of Supervisors is unjust and infringes on my rights as a property owner. Specifically, by telling me that the number of nights I can rent my property be limited to 60 nights per year, and that the number of short-term rental properties be limited to 1 property that I have to reside in. As a Virginia property owner, I believe that this is all about my property rights. One of America's most precious rights are the right to own property. Isn't it ironic that just a few blocks down the street here, St. John's Church, an early patriot of this country, Patrick Henry, proclaimed, "Give me liberty or give me death," in defiance of unfair laws of governing over our early Americans by the British. Senator Adam Evans' Bill 1701 will enable property owners to maintain fair and just property rights. Property owners have maintained short-term rentals dating back many, many years. I was reminded by someone in my family recently that we had family members that only lived a few blocks from this location in Richmond many years ago that operated a boarding house, which could be considered the original short-term rental, ironically just a few blocks away during the Depression just to make ends meet. So therefore, let it be known that I am strongly in favor of Senator Adam Evans' Bill 1701.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, I'm Sister Claire Norton. I live in Fairfax County. I bought my home 14 years ago to be near my community, my religious community. I'm a Franciscan nun, obviously. And being a third order Franciscan nun, I provide for myself. The church doesn't provide for me financially anyway, in any way. And so my spiritual calling is real important to me. And I feel very blessed that I've been able to rent rooms in my house to help pay for living there and being near my spiritual community. So I've met people from all over the globe. I've forged lasting friendships with some of my guests. And I kind of feel like I'm an ambassador of Fairfax County. And, you know, folks come in, most of my guests come in for work. I help them navigate the traffic patterns. I help them find places to eat and whatever they need to make their stay comfortable. And so I just urge you to vote for this bill, and so I can continue to welcome guests into my home.
Thank you, sister. Thank you for your faith, and also thank you for your dedication to help people navigate traffic patterns in Northern Virginia. You want to talk about the Lord's work? That's the Lord's work right there, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Blake Ratcliffe, former Marine officer and graduate of the Naval Academy, and been a host for the past 4 years. And I respect that the Assembly did give authority to local communities to legislate, but I don't believe that that was a blank check for those communities to usurp the General Assembly's authority as a Dillon Rule state, which they have done. And in just 2 points I'd point out in the ordinance that Fairfax did, it isn't 6 lodgers, it's 6 adults. That is a direct violation of the Virginia Fair Housing Law and also the federal Fair Housing Law. They also put in place very onerous information delivery, as Tricia noted earlier, which was struck down in the New York Circuit Court only in the past month and by the Supreme Court in California. This law goes far beyond what the county had authority to do. Please approve Senator Evans' bill.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming in your advocacy. We appreciate it. And also, thank you for keeping us free in your service. Yes.
Hi, my name is Georgia. Georgia Ratcliffe, I should say. I'm a millennial, and I have researched this as well as experienced just how much my generation really depends on Airbnb. When we go somewhere, that's how we want to stay. That's also what was able to help put me through my college education. So I think, especially in this area, as you have Amazon coming in, it's really important that you keep your millennials interested in this area for economic reasons, to save millions of dollars over the coming year, and simply just keep those constituents happy.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to Richmond and telling us that. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Nagla Abdul Halim. I live in the county now for 15 years, and my house is only a mile away from Fairfax Hospital. So very much all my guests, like I can say 80%, they come to the area for medical treatment, and passing that bill will help me to provide that support and help for those people seeking the treatment and also earn income. So that's it.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Cox. I am a non-traditional student in the 5th year of what I hope will be a 5-year PhD program in economics. I'm a full-time student. When I write down my occupation, I write student. That's not a high-paying occupation, and Fairfax County is not a cheap place to live. So the opportunity that I've had to rent my house on a short-term basis has made the difference between completing this program and being forced to leave my academic program prematurely. I don't want any government subsidies. I don't want special consideration. I want my property rights protected. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. All right, is there anybody here that's against this? All right, seeing none. Oh, here comes the county.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I'm Claudia Arco with Fairfax
You're going to throw
County.
water on all this great awesomeness?
A little bit, yes. We're going to tell you about our great awesomeness. So as you all will recall, you all spent 2 sessions looking at this issue. There was a study, and you all rightly, in our opinion, decided to let localities craft rules around short-term rentals that suit their community. And so that's what we did. We spent about a year going through a public process. We had about 11 public hearings. We had thousands of people participate in an online survey, town hall meetings, public meetings, trying to get feedback from the community about what they wanted to see in Fairfax County. And we had some people who, like the folks you've seen today, who wanted to be able to do short-term rentals all the time. We had some folks who were adamantly opposed to allowing them at all. And then we had folks in between. And so the board went through a process where they put together an ordinance that they thought was fair and balanced and was really a first step. Prior to the enactment of our ordinance, short-term rentals weren't allowed at all in Fairfax County, and so we were sort of opening the door. And so the board has committed that in about 18 months, they'll be reviewing that ordinance, and we'll be sort of assessing what the impact has been. And so we would hope that you all would vote against this legislation. Additionally, I would say that we are facing a lawsuit, that
Oh,
we're
what?
involved in litigation over this ordinance right now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, well, that changes everything. Well, let me ask you this, though. You know, a lot of what you heard from these witnesses, and I think they're very valid reasons, that this may be their only source of income, that they would be in a hardship if they didn't have that opportunity to rent their places out. We've heard from students, non-traditional students who are having to rent their house out so they can pay for school and go to school full-time so they can better themselves and have a career that's going to pay for that luxurious Fairfax type of living. You've heard from other people who are doing so because of their faith and helping others do that and sustain themselves. I mean, every single witness here, I gotta tell you, I don't think I was really keen on this bill to begin with, but their testimony is compelling. I mean, Senator Marsden, would you agree with me about hardships?
Well, I would.
Because we think alike, you know.
I would, yes, we do. I would, Mr. Chairman. What is the county's ability at this point in time, Claudia, in your estimation, to grant any hardship requests?
I think we'd have to think about whether or not we could do something that wasn't uniform in that way. I don't think we've really given it a lot of thought. I will say this only applies to short-term rentals, obviously, which is only 30 days or less. For longer-term rentals, folks could do that if they needed to subsidize their household and their income.
Senator Favola.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, and I apologize, Ms. Arco, if I interrupted your train of thought, but what is the process for long-term rental? Because some of the speakers who came up before us obviously would qualify for long-term rental. Is that too
Right, so
onerous?
if a rental is over 30 days, it is not part of this process. And so those go on in the county, and that has nothing to do with the authority that you all gave us and that we enacted in this ordinance. So that can go on 30 days, over 30 days. Less than 30 days was not allowed prior to our ordinance, and now we've allowed it up to 60 days a year.
Follow-up question, Mr.
Senator
Chairman. Do you have a mechanism for somebody to rent a room in their home long-term? Is there
Yes.
a permitting process? Is it?
Yeah, so there's, and Christine, what are the requirements in the county? I mean, we do have a process, and people can do that for longer-term rentals. Do you know how that works?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee,
Sir.
I'm Chris Sigler, Assistant County Attorney, Fairfax County. There's a couple
Wait,
of
we were
different,
enjoying Claudia. Claudia?
We work together.
I know.
there's a couple of different things that we do, Senator Favola. One of the things that we did, especially as we were contemplating this bill in and of itself, was that there's a bed and breakfast process whereby people can rent rooms year-round as a bed and breakfast. And one of the things we wanted to do is we heard the feedback of folks similar to those that you heard today who wanted to take advantage of this full-time, was we lowered the special exception fee. You can do that by special exception in Fairfax County. So we reduced that in half so that people who otherwise qualified to run a bed and breakfast would have that fee cut in half, so that would be an option available to some of those folks.
Mr. Chairman, follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Favola. Sorry.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Follow-up question, I expect there's probably a tax element to running a bed and breakfast, and there's not a tax element really to this short term?
There's tax on, I mean,
But
there's a tax for
in
short-term
both,
rentals as well.
but is the rate the same? Is it?
I would have to look into that. I think it's I think it falls under the transient occupancy tax.
Oh, the transient occupancy tax,
Right.
which is actually could be less than your real estate tax, to be honest. All right, so I'm concluding, rightly or wrongly, you can correct me, that there is a process for long-term rentals. There is a permit fee, which you said you've reduced, and there may be some other financial burden, if you will, associated with the long-term rental process that's not associated with the short-term, but there is that option.
That is correct, Senator Favola.
Got it.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Servo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Servo.
I would just ask the county folks, from my perspective, running an Airbnb in your primary residence where you live is qualitatively different than purchasing a property as an investment that either might be next to your house or a block or a mile or 10 miles away where you're not there monitoring it on a daily basis to see what's going on inside. Did the county get any feedback or why didn't the county differentiate, or did they differentiate in their ordinance?
So the way that the county ordinance is written, because we did get a lot of feedback on that issue, and we definitely have had a lot of properties in the county that have significant problems, that have caused a lot of problems for their neighbors. So in the county ordinance, you could own multiple properties and they could operate as short-term rentals, but an operator would have to live in those properties and be a primary resident.
Got it, Mr. Chairman. Further questions?
Senator Servo.
I guess, what I'm getting at is you all didn't get a lot of complaints about, for example, the nun having a lot of parties in her house, right? I mean, I would think most of the complaints come from people that have investment
Senator
properties.
Servo, those are traffic navigation gatherings. Those are not parties.
Mr. Chairman, I think one of the things that was interesting to me as we went through our process is hearing the number of creative things people chose to do with their properties. And so I think obviously there are a lot of folks who don't cause problems for their neighbors and, don't cause trouble in their community. And there are a lot who do things that are creative but really make an impact on their neighborhoods and their communities, and it kind of changes the character of it. And so we were really trying to kind of take that first step, try 60 days, see how that works for our community based on the feedback that we got, and we'll reassess as we go forward.
Got it. Thank you, Claudia. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, no.
I have an amendment if nobody else has any
Hold
other
on.
questions.
Lurch. Mr. Lurch.
Mr.
Welcome.
Chair- Thank you, Mr.
It's
Chairman.
good to see you. You've been very quiet this year. I've been worried about you.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay,
sir.
good.
Joe Lurch, Virginia Association of Counties, and just to reiterate a concern that we're seeing, even though this is legislation dealing with Fairfax, we did have the legislation a couple years ago that allowed localities to help craft the ordinances in their localities. A lot of our members have started to do that. Our concern is, with this passage of this legislation, is they may want to pull back and say, well, if the General Assembly says they don't like the result.
We're just going to go change it on you.
Yeah, so that's our
you.
concern. We wanted to register that.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Lurch. Very nicely well put.
Mr. Chairman, can I make my amendment now?
Senator Servo, hold on. We have other people. Come on. Or unless you think that will impact their testimony. It will not impact their testimony. Okay, sir, please, quickly.
Yes. Hi, my name is Don Hinman. I'm a homeowner in Fairfax County.
Hello, Mr. Hinman.
And I oppose this bill, and I'm actually representing the Fairfax County Federation of Citizens Associations, which represents voluntary civic associations, HOAs, and condos. And we asked the committee to defeat this bill to maintain local control. I'd add that the Fairfax County Board unanimously voted Republican Democrat to oppose this bill.
Okay.
I stood before this committee 2 years ago, strongly supporting your and Senator Norman's efforts to get the bills passed. We homeowners across Virginia are very grateful for that. We want you to defeat this bill to maintain that principle of local control.
Yes, sir.
And I'm aware that the two key issues are the number of houses and the number of days. And I'm not sure if Fairfax County got this right, but I think they should have the right to change it without the state getting involved at this point. So I would ask you to, I think the county took their job very seriously getting an ordinance. It may not be correct, but please let the county decide this, not the state. Thank you.
Yes.
Michelle Gowdy, VML. We just echo Vaco's comments.
Mr. Chairman, can I make my amendment yet?
Yes, amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From my perspective, I think there's a qualitative difference between purchasing a property as an investment and renting it out to somebody, especially if it's not anywhere near your house, than it is doing one of these in your home where you're living there and you're there 24/7. And I do feel comfortable right now with my county's ability to deal with the investment property. But, with the stories we've told today, I'm not really sure the full story was told on this. And I've seen public outreach in the county, and it tends to be focused on people who are very plugged in and paying attention. And there are a lot of communities that tend not to be reached and people that don't know what's going on. And I've also seen how my board tends to respond to people, noisy people, and I think they tend to over-respond to noisy people sometimes. And so from my perspective, I'm not sure that the feedback was really completely reflective of what was going on, and nor is the ordinance, I think, properly flexible, because it is so restrictive. What it's going to do is it's going to result in a lot of these people having to sell their house before they get a chance to amend the ordinance.
So you have
because of the
amendment?
financial distress. So my amendment, Mr. Chairman, would be to, on line 17, after residence, strike the rest of line 17 through the word both on line 18. And what that would do would be to leave the county to do whatever they want on investment properties. And it would say that on primary residences, people could Airbnb for 180 days.
All right, you've heard the amendment. You've heard a very lengthy explanation of what the amendment is.
I think it's friendly too, I think.
And is it a friendly amendment, Senator Eben?
Yeah, I mean, our main purpose is to allow these people to operate.
Okay.
And that's what I'm after.
All right. So the amendment's before us. Is there a motion to adopt? Second? Is there a second? Second being properly supported, the motion to adopt. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The amendment is made. No? One no. Record your noes. Okay. So, bill is properly before us. We operate by motion.
Can I just make a final comment, sir? No, I
Adam?
better not. Okay.
Second.
Motion being made to report. Is there any discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator McPike.
a few thoughts on this, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to support the measure, but this is a policy issue that was before this committee a couple years ago, and we re-referred to finance. And I think there was some significant implications to it because we had a bill before this committee that would have dealt with a statewide system of dealing with this as well as some local input. We've now gone to and down this road where we're going to have Christmas tree bills from here till eternity. And for me, this is sort of like what Fairfax County did was sort of like a requirement for an Uber driver to only drive 5 days out of a year. 5 days a month out of a year, and then stop. And we've got to such a wide range of new, innovative ways that people are trying to utilize their own property that they paid for. And we're going to get into this quagmire year after year after year. I don't like it as a carve-out bill as a principle. I'm going to vote for it because I think Fairfax has gone way too far with it. And this is people's property that they depend on and they're innovating with. And I'm going to support them on that measure. And the fact that Senator Eben brought a nun to my town hall this past weekend, just not fair.
Perhaps you needed it.
But
I thought you were a good Catholic.
Did it help?
It did help.
So I heard you opened up that town hall with "Forgive me, sister, for I've sinned." Is that the way you started?
That's it. But hopefully the committee recognizes that we've entered into a pathway now that will be difficult to roll back as we give exemptions.
Thank you, Senator McPike. Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I certainly sympathize. The folks who've come to see me have just been great, and their needs are great. But when you give local control to local government, you need to follow through with that and respect the decisions that they make, whether you agree with them or not. I'm going to vote against this bill, even as it is amended, simply because of the principle that, local control is local control. When we give it, we shouldn't take it back.
Because we don't give it that often, do we, Senator? Yeah. All right. Anyone else want to speak about this? Senator Eben, I'm in conflict. I've got to tell you, and I've been waiting to vote on this bill because I'm holding 4 proxies, but I'm compelled by what I heard today by the testimony of those that you presented as witnesses. And so I'm going to vote in support of this bill, even though naturally I wanted to vote against it because of their compelling testimony. And I'm hopeful that if this goes down the process, and that doesn't mean that you're going to get a yes vote from me on the floor, okay? I'm going to think about it more. But if this does further along the process, I think maybe more of a cooperative effort with Fairfax might be in order as it moves through the legislative order, okay? If it gets through. I'm
Happy to work with the county.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we have a motion and a second properly supporting the motion. We've had discussion. Any more discussion? Clerk, open the roll and give me a minute. Yes. Yes. No. No. Close
9
the
ayes,
roll.
4 nays.
9 ayes, 4 nays. The bill has reported, 1701 has reported out of the Senate Committee on Local Government. I want to thank those that came and advocated. You changed at least one mind on this panel, but understand that this General Assembly does not give local governments that much authority under the Dillon Rule. And so when we do it, I think what Senator Marsden said is very appropriate, that we need to acknowledge and trust that local government to make those right decisions, because one size does not fit all. My county of Franklin is not like the county of Fairfax. And quite frankly, the county of Fairfax wasn't like it when I grew up as a young boy in the 70s and 80s. It's changing environments, and we entrust those that we elect at the local levels to do the job that they're given. And when we give them the authority to make these decisions, we give so, we don't do it very lightly. We don't like giving any power away. I was the author and co-author of the bill that both Senator Norman and I passed out that allowed localities to regulate. Because as I said, Senator Eben, back then, if I wanted to live next door to Ramada Inn, I would buy a house next door to a Ramada Inn. And I think, that was our big concern. So we trust the local governments to regulate. I'm going to tell you this. Senator Eben, I expect you and Claudia and the people of Fairfax to try to see if there's a happy medium. What I'm concerned about is somehow making sure that we include, as Senator Marsden said, hardships. We find some way that we can help those that are in those economic conditions where this may be the only lifeline that they have in order to survive. And I would hope that Fairfax works in good faith with Senator Eben as this makes its way to the floor. You have 3 days before it gets to the floor. I would love to see a floor amendment on the second day where you can say everybody's holding hands and got this worked out. Okay, Senator Eben?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
Yes,
happy
sir.
to hold hands if the county wants to hold hands.
We always like holding hands with you, Senator Eben. It's
Thanks.
a great thing.
Thank you, the
friend.
members of the committee.
All right.
I'm just thankful I live in the western counties of the state.
Why, you don't hold hands down there? Nope. Okay. All right. Senator Marsden, you're going to take the helm up. Got to go present some bills and finance.
In what order are we doing the?
No, this is all on you, buddy. You figure it out.
Here
it is. It's right here, Boy Scout marker.
All right. I believe we have Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Boysko, you have a preferred bill number you'd like to take?
Sure. So I'd like to strike 1783.
Did we already do that? We've already
And
taken
I-
care of
okay.
that for you?
Great. I just want to make sure that that had been done. And excuse my voice, I'm a little under the weather. I'm here to present SB 1634, Economic Revitalization Zones.
SB 1634. Draw
Yes.
your attention to 1634. Any substitute?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Senator Boysko.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, today I present SB 1634. This bill will allow towns to create local economic revitalization zones. This was requested by the town of Herndon. We know that in 2007, the General Assembly passed legislation permitting cities to establish economic revitalization zones. In 2017, they granted counties to do the same. The town of Herndon and others are asking that towns be given the same authority. An economic revitalization zone will permit towns to encourage assembly of smaller property sites and provide incentives for redevelopment. Herndon administers its own planning authority, and development sites in town are at a competitive disadvantage to the sites in the county, as the planning regulatory incentives that revitalization zones offer could not be granted in the town by the county. So the Herndon administers its own B-poll tax, and a development site in town is at a competitive disadvantage to sites in the county because they have the ability to reduce the B-poll tax and give that incentive in a revitalization zone. Economic revitalization zones are a needed tool for towns to add to their toolbox to encourage businesses to locate here. This is a pro-business, pro-economy, pro-economic development bill. This town would grant towns the same rights as cities and counties to establish economic revitalization zones for their citizens to benefit from the improvements that result when they can offer the incentives that lead to redevelopment. And I ask that you report this bill to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Boysko. Any questions from the committee? Any of those who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
Michelle Gowdy, Virginia Municipal League. We want to thank the senator for bringing this fine bill, and our towns are really excited about this opportunity to have another tool in their toolbox, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone opposed to the bill would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Favola.
I move that we report the bill.
Moved to report, properly seconded. Open the vote. I get Stanley?
9 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you.
9 ayes, 1 nay. The bill reports.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Boysko. And next we have Senator Sproul. How are you,
Mr.
sir?
Chairman. Thank you. Good afternoon, I think, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Senate Bill 1088.
Sorry. Bill number
1088.
right.
Mr. Chairman, before we started.
Senator Sproul.
When the bill first came to me to put it in, the finance department had some problems. They met with the authorities, so we have a substitute.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the substitute?
Mr. Chairman, it's
Motion's
actually a
been
line
made.
amendment.
What's that?
It's actually a line amendment.
Oh, okay.
And I can-
Could we report
I
the
can go
line
ahead and-
amendment?
Yeah, so it's just one line amendment, and it's on line 28, after the words "of the," strike the remainder of line 28, and through and the on line 29, so all of line 29.
Okay. Senator Sproul, could you tell me what your line amendment does before we act on it?
We have the Chesapeake, we have someone here from the hospital. The line amendment.
I'm Kristen Ryder with the, yes, I'm Kristen Ryder with the Virginia Department of the Treasury. And what we're asking for, this bill exempted the hospital authority from the requirements of the Security for Public Deposit Act. And we talked to the legal counsel for the authority, and we asked them to strike that. So this would just strike the, so that they would have to comply with the requirements of the Security for Public Deposits Act. The Security for Public Deposits Act protects public deposits that are held by banks in excess of federal deposit insurance coverage by requiring the banks to pledge securities as collateral to the Virginia Treasury Board. And we feel that the public funds of the hospital authority should be protected under the Security for Public Deposits Act, and they have agreed to that.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to, any discussion on the amendment?
I just have a,
Senator Favola.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. A quick question. So by deleting the Virginia Security for Public Deposits Act, in effect, we're saying that the hospital will have to be accountable and more transparent.
Well, they're currently required to comply with the Security for Public Deposits Act. So just, they will continue to have to comply
do
with
that.
it. Yes.
Okay.
They will continue to have to comply with the Security for Public Deposits Act, which means that their public funds will have to be, can only be placed in a Virginia bank that is what we call a qualified public depository and has been approved to accept public deposits by the Virginia Treasury Board.
Right, Mr. Chairman, follow-up question. Why was the bill
Senator
put
Favola.
in the first place with the word exempt? I'm just curious.
Let me have someone. This is from, he's allowance for the hospital.
Mr. Chair, Senator, I'm Curtis Bird with the Chesapeake Regional Healthcare. We had put it in based upon a Attorney General's opinion from a number of years ago that suggested that we could have greater flexibility in how we invest assets of the hospital. These aren't public monies. These are just monies derived from providing health care, even though we are a public hospital and we do fall in this coverage. But we've been given other exemptions, such as from FOIA and Public Procurement Act, that sort of thing. So we're just seeking a little bit of latitude in how those dollars are invested so that we can garner a better return so it can be reinvested into the facility to provide the care in our community that we're being asked to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's still enough accountability there. I think they want flexibility, and I believe there's enough accountability for
Correct.
the
It does not
expenditure
remove
of the
that.
public
Correct.
dollars.
Yes, Senator, that's correct.
Are you ready for a motion to adopt the amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we adopt the amendment.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. All in favor of accepting the line amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And I guess,
The line amendments are before us in the bill.
and Mr. Chairman, I don't see any speakers opposed.
But let me just double check here. Anyone opposed to the bill? Senator Favola.
Okay, then I will move that we report the bill as amended.
We have a motion and a second that the bill be reported. Could we open the rolls?
Ten ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Senator Sproul. Your bill reports.
Thank you.
Who we got next here on the list? We have Senator Barker. Oh,
Barker has to also. Barker's in the same boat as me.
okay. We'll get through. I'm sorry. Forgot.
Yeah.
Senator Barker, what do you got for us?
I have Senate Bill 1663, and I have a line amendment. You have that?
Would staff report the line amendment?
Okay, for both of you.
Mr. Chairman, the line amendment would be on page 2, line 117, after the word sidewalk. Insert,
Page 2, excuse me 1 second. I've only got,
And
excuse me.
line 117, and actually sidewalk is in line 117 twice, so it's after the second reference to sidewalk was where the line amendment will go.
61.
line 117, after the underscored sidewalk, strike, insert, comma, the need for which is substantially generated by the proposed development, comma, reasonably required and.
And then continue with the rest of that at the end of line 117 and on line 118 and 19.
Senator Barker, could you explain what your amendment does?
Well, what the amendment does is basically, this was requested by the Attorney General's office. They said this would make it legal and proper to be able to put this requirement in here. And what this is this is when you have a development project that's coming forward and this is requested by Fairfax County, for example, to the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, and they have a comprehensive plan that shows where sidewalks are supposed to be. And if you have existing sidewalks on either side, or if you have something adopted in the comprehensive plan, which is what this addresses, then they can go forward and require the developer to put in the sidewalk there.
All right, do we have a motion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the amendment.
Second.
Amendment's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment's adopted. Senator Barker.
All right, and that's, basically the explanation I've given is the bill. The bill basically would allow and make sure that the county has the ability to go forward and to require someone when they're doing a development project to put the sidewalk in where the comprehensive plan calls for it, or when there are existing sidewalks on either side of that property.
All right, any questions of the patron? All those in favor of the bill, could you step forward?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Sigler with Fairfax County. This is the Board of Supervisors initiative. I want to thank Senator Barker for carrying this bill and all the hard work he's done on it. Obviously, we support this. It would expand the times in a subdivision ordinance when we could require dedication and construction of sidewalks. That's important to us because it helps us fill gaps in our sidewalk network, which overall helps our transportation network. Current law right now requires or states that we can only require these sidewalks when there's an adjacent one on either side of the property. So this would expand that ability for us.
Okay, so say the magic word multimodal and.
Multimodal.
There you go, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Pat Carroll with Arlington County. This would allow us to require a section of non-contiguous sidewalk, which is really important for our safe routes to schools. And we have a lot of people who commute to work on foot. It would enable that. So it is multimodal, I guess.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
we support the
Hard
bill.
to think of Arlington that any place that doesn't have a sidewalk, but I guess
Well,
they
no,
exist.
we have lots of places.
Yeah.
So, yes, so this would help with the gaps. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joe?
Mr. Chairman, Joe Lurch with Virginia Association of Counties and also representing VML Multimodal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Craig Tolson, Home Builders Association of Virginia. We're also satisfied with the language. Support the bill.
Thank you so much.
And I'll give you one more word, and that's walkability, so.
That's walkability.
Walkability.
No, multimodal is today's word, not walkability. So, at any rate, we have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to report the bill as amended.
We've moved and seconded to pass the bill. Open the rolls.
Ten ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Senator Barker. Since I've taken over the helm, everything's undefeated. It's good. Let's see, who do we have? Senator Serval needs to go forward. He has to pick some judges, I believe, for one of the 24 counties he represents. So, excuse us, Senator Edwards, Senator Peterson. We need to
sorry.
get Senator Serval out of here.
This is, I think this is a substitute.
What Senate bill are we talking about? 1553?
Yes. Can you hand me a substitute? So, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, this bill basically has to do with shopping carts, and the substitute is more narrowly tailored just to deal with shopping carts instead of everything else. Just to give you a sense of the problem that we're dealing with in 36th District, I have a handout. You can hand this out real quick. So, we got a problem with shopping carts. They seem to not really want to stay at the stores they're supposed to stay at. And I've put this bill in back in 2013, almost got it out of the House, and then some people contacted me again this year from a different part of Fairfax County and Springfield. Were very upset, and so I've decided to bring this back. But you can see here in these pictures I've done, I have a picture here, a map of the Little Hunting Creek watershed. And you can see there's a Walmart, a Costco, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, Petco, Staples, and it all wraps around this trailer park. And these shopping carts in this area end up in the creek. 5 years ago, I started doing a creek cleanup. You can see the pictures I've attached here. I took, so far, I think in 6 cleanups, I've taken almost 250 shopping carts out of the creek. Not out of the woods, out of the creek, in the creek bed. They get in the creek, they fall over, then they start catching leaves and sticks, and they start burrowing in, they dig down, and it takes 3 men about an hour per cart to pull them out. Just to give you an idea of the amount of volunteer time and people I've had pulling these carts out of the creek. You can see all these big piles of shopping carts in these pictures. This is the evidence. And we had a pile of shopping carts that was about 12 feet high at one point. And they had to come in with a big truck and take them all away. And I have a bunch of pictures of shopping carts. Some free-range carts here, I like to call them that. Whenever I'm driving down Route 1, I say to my kids, look, it's like a free-range cart. It's kind of like a free-range chicken. And it's a real problem. So Springfield Civic Association reached out to Supervisor Jeff McKay, who contacted me and said they had a similar problem in Springfield in the retail area. And when I reached out to the Virginia retail merchants about this 5 years ago, they pointed out to me that Virginia Beach has an ordinance, which I attached here at the very end, a piece off their website, which talked about their shopping cart retrieval program. And so we drafted an ordinance that's based off the Virginia Beach ordinance. And that's what this revised version of Senate Bill 1553 does. And it basically says that if somebody goes, if the local government sees somebody's cart that's been abandoned somewhere, they can tell the store, hey, your cart is sitting over at blah, blah street, go get it. And if they don't get it after a period of time, after being notified in writing, then the county can levy a fine and charge them for removal costs relating to that cart. That's the basic concept. And just to get an idea of the cost of this, on this last page of this thing I handed out, Fairfax County back in 2005 spent $66,000 cleaning out this same creek that I do my creek cleanup every year because it was also full of shopping carts and trash and junk back then. And the shopping carts are the main problem. So that's what the bill does. And it would give the county the authority to enact it only applies to Fairfax County. It would give Fairfax County the authority to adopt an ordinance to do that program I described, where they tell them in writing, you don't pick it up, you can be fined for the removal cost.
Senator Serville, in kind of a weird way, this is holding the people who have had their shopping carts stolen and holding them accountable for the fact that a thief has taken their property.
Sort of. From my perspective, a lot of these companies have just decided there's a cost of doing business, and they're happy to just let people take their carts and bring them back and forth, and every once in a while one disappears in the woods or whatever. And when I cornered Walmart about this, the Walmart finally put in a cart control system on their parking lot to try and prevent this from happening. When they built the new Costco, I told them what was going to happen. They wouldn't listen to me, and I've now taken 12 Costco carts out of the creek. But I tried to get Costco to put a cart control system. But this would incentivize these companies to better police their carts and or put cart control systems. So for example, like Aldi, you put a quarter in to take the cart, you put the cart back, you get quarter back. I've seen other stores that have things that where there's a bar on the cart, when you're trying to push it, it hits the roof and you can't take it outside. I mean, there's things that these retailers can do to prevent their carts from leaving the premises. But I just don't think that right now the incentives are in place to really incentivize them to control these things. And I'm telling you, if you read this letter, I mean, you wouldn't believe the emails I got from these people that are so upset about all the shopping carts they find all over their neighborhoods in Springfield. I get the same issue, and I got some witnesses here that can talk about it.
So Senator Serville, what we're doing here is requiring a penalty to retrieve your stolen property.
If you don't get it after you're notified.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily call it stolen, it's abandoned. I mean, I'm not sure these people
it was stolen first before it was abandoned.
Mr. Chairman, what I would say is people are taking it to get their stuff home, and I'm not sure they necessarily intend to permanently deprive the owner of it, which would be theft. They intended, maybe use it to bring it back, or the thing ends up in the woods when a kid pushes it down there. But theft is when you steal something, you want to keep it forever.
Well, we certainly stop people who are exiting a store with concealed merchandise, and that we don't go for the excuse that, I wasn't permanently going to take it. Is that correct?
That's incorrect. That's actually a legal defense, and we learned that in law school, that in order to prove a theft, you have to take something with the intent to permanently deprive somebody of it, not temporarily deprive. And it's not petty larceny or grand larceny if you're intending to just temporarily deprive somebody of something. And so when you take something out of a store, you're not intending to take it out and leave it on the parking lot. You have to intend to take it home and keep it forever. That's theft. This isn't theft. This is just people not taking care of their stuff.
Well, we seem to certainly get a lot of convictions of people from getting caught in parking lots that haven't gotten home yet.
Because they're taking it to keep it forever.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Favol.
a question for the patron. Why did you limit this to the urban county executive form of government? I mean, it's permissive. It says that urban county executive form of government may, by ordinance, why didn't we just make it statewide?
I just thought it would be easier to pass if it was only urban county form of government, and I didn't want to have to negotiate with 39 other jurisdictions.
But it's permissive.
It is.
I mean, I actually sort of like the idea, so I would make it countywide, but, I mean, Commonwealth-wide. I don't know what my colleagues think about that.
There were a few people here to testify in favor, too. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions from whoever's left here? All those in favor, please come up and tell us who you are and why you're in favor.
I'm Paul Siegel. I'm treasurer of the Friends of Little Hunting Creek. I live on the creek that's shown in Scott's photo. I'll speak about instead of distributing some more photos, I'll talk about essentially the same photos. New shopping carts sell for $150 to $200. Reconditioned ones, about half that. Some shopping cart providers sell a service in which they roam the area and retrieve abandoned carts from the streets. The stores whose names are on the carts in those photos don't seem interested in reclaiming their property. It's probably just a cost of doing business to them. The total cost to the county for loading and removing and disposing of the pile in one of Senator Serval's photos was on the order of $1,000. The cost of, that's the tipping fee at the dump and the labor it took to get it from the pile to the dump. We're not asking the legislature to invent a means by which stores can keep their carts on site. We're asking you to help provide an incentive for the owners of these carts to take responsibility for their property, keep them, and keep them out of our parks and our creeks by supporting SB 1553. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Sigler with Fairfax County. We support this bill. We view this as another tool in the toolbox to address this situation. It is a problem in these districts that in these areas that Senator Serval has identified. And to the chairman's question about penalizing someone whose property has been taken from them, I think what we tried to do in discussing the bill with Senator Serval was to reduce the impact of that. And I think what the substitute talks about is that if we send you a notice of violation and you don't remove your cart, then we will do it, but we're going to assess the cost that we've expended in the removal and the disposal of that cart to the property owner. Mm-hmm. So Senator Serval kept calling it a fine. I don't know that I necessarily see it as a fine. You're reimbursing us for the costs of doing your work. So we do support the bill.
Yeah, I would think that, and this is just a guess, that one of their problems too is the disinfection they would have to do if they reclaim their property that they're probably not equipped to do.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Serval.
Question for the speaker. What kind of fee are we talking about?
Well, yeah, Mr. Chairman, Senator Sturtevant, I don't know that we've worked out the details on exactly how it would work, but we envision the program as assessing whatever the cost is of removing that shopping cart and disposing of it to be passed on. How much it is exactly, I couldn't tell you until we start getting into the.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator
I understand what Senator Serval is trying to do and completely get it. I also understand the point that was made about this being stolen property and holding the property owner accountable for it is, I think, concerning. And then also not knowing how much it might cost. I mean, does the bill address a cap on what that fee might be?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sturtevant, I don't believe there's a cap in this in the substitute.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to propose one, you can. My guess is it would be whatever the employee's hourly rate would be. So maybe, I don't know, $20 to $40 an hour plus whatever the tipping fee would be for the thing.
Yeah, Senator Serval, are you finished? You complete your questions, Senator Sturtevant. Senator Serval, if I would imagine if the cart showed up in the creek, that's a pretty good indication of permanently depriving the owner of the use thereof, wouldn't you say?
No. And the reason I say that is because what actually happens is these carts go back in neighborhoods, and they sit in the neighborhoods, and then kids push them down to these drainage ditches, and then when it rains, they get pushed down the drainage ditch in the creek. And so while somebody might have originally taken it home with the intent to take it back, somebody else in the neighborhood might take it and then push it somewhere, and it's just, you never know how it gets there.
So there's a secondary theft that goes on to get it into the creek. That's how this works.
Well, actually, I'm not sure either would be a theft, but it's more like a secondary vandalism.
Okay, I would like you to know, Senator Sturtevant, that this is not a problem in the 37th Senate District. Just to let you know.
You might want to ask him in Annandale. I'm not so sure.
Thank you. Please step forward.
Hi, I'm Betsy Martin, and I'm the president of the Friends of Little Hunting Creek. And we've been doing these cleanups since 2002 with Senator Serval's help. And it really is a horrible problem that we have with these shopping carts getting in the creek. And I'd like to speak to what Senator Marston is assuming, which is that these are stolen carts. The very first time that we really attempted to remove them en masse, they were all Walmart, and there were well over 100 of them. And I think in a lot of cases, they're more or less abandoned. They're not valuable property that the stores are, being deprived of by, people walking off with them. They're paying somebody to get rid of their old shopping carts, and somebody is instead dumping them in the creek instead of paying a tip fee. And, you can't have 150 50 Walmart shopping carts stuck in the mud, buried in the creek, that are because a few homeless people took them away. That's not what's happening. And the Fairfax County needs tools to get rid of this problem. We have written letters. When we found these horrible mountain of shopping carts in the creek, I called Walmart and I said, we found over 100 of your shopping carts. Please help us come and get them. And, they didn't care. They really didn't respond. We've written letters to Walmart, Senator Serval has, I have, Costco, and we want them to do something about it. And the county needs tools to make them do something about it. It's really unacceptable. They create dams, they get buried in the mud. It's horrible to get them out. Litter and debris and trash piles up behind them. They can cause flooding. It's really awful. And I bet you there are streams in your district that have them. You just may not know about them.
I patrol my streams regularly. They're clean of shopping carts. Thank you, Senator Favola.
Mr. Chairman, shall be charged to the owner of the shopping cart. So this would be like Walmart or Safeway, or because you're not going to find the individual who.
No. It's whoever's name's on the cart. So it's a Home Depot, Walmart,
Right, so it would be a
PetSmart.
business
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, there we go. Any other questions from the committee?
No, Mr. Chairman, we adopted the substitute. I was out talking. We did not.
We did not.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion on the substitute.
I move that we adopt the substitute.
Second.
All in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Substitutes before us.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we report the bill as amended, the substitute bill that we just adopted, the substitute for, 1553.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a movement and a second for the second strangest bill I've ever heard in the General Assembly. Could we open the vote?
Eight ayes, 2 nays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bill reports.
Thanks, Senator Peterson, for being patient.
All right. Okay, good stuff.
Senator Peterson.
Mr. Chair.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I am going to be like a cicada and sort of resurface after being away for 12 years in this code section, which is deals with PACE, which is Property Assessed Clean Energy. This was a bill I had, gosh, back, I think when George Bush was still president, which basically allowed localities to finance improvements for clean energy and then take it back with a lien on the property. And it was a bill that we had. It was sort of an innovative financing scheme. My bill, I think, was 2008. And I'm coming back to you today with basically an amendment to that code section to do two things. One is to allow the same improvements that we allowed for clean energy to also apply for stormwater management improvements, which obviously with all the climate issues we have today is becoming more and more prevalent. And then secondly, to vary the language we have on the voluntary special assessment. Right now, we limit the special assessment to those properties. We don't allow a residential lien on those properties, residential dwelling with fewer than 5 dwelling units on a condo project as defined in 55-70.2. And I have a witness who I ran into in Madison High School this fall who specializes in these kind of projects and would be able to describe why this bill is important and why it would be a good addition to the code.
Thank you, Senator Peterson.
Come on forward.
We have someone else to testify on your behalf?
Yes, sir.
Welcome. Hi, my name is Jerry Gurgic, and I've been a PACE advocate in Northern Virginia for 9 years, ever since he proposed the first bill. So this year, we should get commercial PACE programs started in Fairfax County, Alexandria, and Loudoun County as early as next month for Loudoun County. It's a local government program. It gives the power of choice to continue to pay more than necessary to utility companies or invest the net present value of energy savings in your home or building for better insulation, better windows, HVAC equipment, solar panels, etc. It could be used to benefit rich or poor, and it will benefit every one of us. Builders could use it to build net zero homes today for the same total monthly cost between PACE assessment, energy savings, and mortgage as we build whatever it is we build per code now. It offers us job creation, improved air and water, lower demands for energy. We can move forward to a sustainable future using PACE, and it will allow us to provide low-cost power and remain competitive with other states. I'd like to give you the Hilton Hotel in California as an example. They accepted a $7 million PACE loan on a 1980 building. They lowered their expenses by $1 million. For a typical corporation, that means it's a simple 7-year payback, which is not something a corporation would ever choose to do. They'd look for something in the 4 to 5 year range. No, I'm not aware of any that would choose 7 years. Using PACE funding to accomplish those changes saved them the $1 million a year on operations and energy, but it cost them $665,000. So their income went up $300,000 a year by being more efficient. Their return on investment was infinite. They invested no money. The money was invested by the special assessment that they created.
Talk about this bill.
So this bill lets homeowners take advantage of the similar situation for them. They can save enough on energy to more than pay off the special assessment, and they can put money in their pocket. And residential PACE is much more powerful than commercial PACE. 100% of homeowners pay their own bill. In the commercial space, only most properties are rented, and it doesn't impact every single building because a renter pays the utility bill, and so they don't have an incentive to really go after energy efficiency.
Can you talk about why stormwater management?
Well, stormwater management has come up, and there's a companion or an alternate bill, SB 1559. I'd be happy to see their language rolled into this bill. But in Alexandria, I've been working with the folks down there, and they need some other tools to allow stormwater management issues to be addressed through the PACE program, whether that be on commercial or residential. I just want to let you know that PACE may have opposition from bankers at times. They usually say that they're subordinating their loan, and that's not a correct expression. The correct expression would be that their loan is subordinate to PACE payments that are in arrears only. So if the loan were not paid for 2 years, there would be 2 years of payments. It is not the full amount. PACE loans do not accelerate. They convey with the property. Solar panels convey with the property. The geothermal system conveys. So it's an equitable arrangement. Is there anything else you'd like to ask?
Is there any questions? Senator Sturtevant.
We need to talk about why this bill, like the five condos, this language, why you need to strike that language.
What was the, just a quick question, what was the reason for limiting it, the original legislation, just to clean energy contracts? And then I guess the secondary question is why just stormwater management projects now in this expansion?
I think there are other uses for this type of financing. I don't think we're ready to accept them. I can think of how residential homes might resolve the problem for sprinkler systems in residential homes, whereas a homeowner pays forever on insurance, but if you put the sprinklers in up front, that insurance bill goes away. You can capitalize that kind of expense. I've talked to other people about using them for conservation easements. You get a tax credit for multi-years. It could give somebody who wants to use it the upfront capital needed to take advantage of conservation. But I don't really want to get into all that now. Stormwater management's come up because it's a need in Alexandria. It's a need in Norfolk. It's a need in, somebody else sponsored 1559. It's a need there. It's experience there. It allows us to do it.
Let me speak to this, because I actually did the original clean energy bill. We were trying to jumpstart an industry, And so we targeted it and said, we're going to allow localities to loan money and basically take it back under the real estate tax. I think the whole point is under stormwater management now with all the coastal resiliency issues we have at Hampton Roads and Alexandria, that now we're trying to target that industry. Do I have that, state that correctly?
I think that's great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any questions for the witness or the patron? Seeing none, is there anyone else who'd like to speak for or against this bill? Okay, we're a committee that operates on...
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we report the bill.
We have a motion properly made that the bill be reported. Second, properly, there you go. You're off the proxy. First, motion and second being properly made. Is there any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, clerk, open the roll.
Good work.
13 ayes, 0 nays, Senate Bill
Thanks, guys.
1400 reports. Thank you, Senator Pearson, and thanks for ticking off the subcommittee in finance for me. That really worked out well for me. Thanks. I went right after him. I'm going to get you for that. I know where you live. Uh-huh. All right. Next up is, let's do something real quick, some housekeeping. Next is Senator Favola. We have 2 impact fees from Senator Stewart that are back within the breast of the committee. They were referred back by motion on the floor of the Senate. They had been reported out during the summertime by this committee, and they're now back before us. I've spoken with the patron. He has a recommendation in close consultation with Senator Favola, who's worked very hard on this issue, of course. And so, Senator Favola, I will yield to you and allow you to explain to the members of the committee what you want to have happen to Senator Stewart's 2 impact fee bills.
Well, Senator Stewart has been a real trooper on these 2 bills, and they're both fairly complicated because impact fees, of course, would be a tool that local governments could use across the Commonwealth, and local governments are different sizes and shapes and cultures and attitudes, and everybody has a different view. So Senate Bill 208 actually had provided more authorities to local governments, and Senate Bill 944 actually reduced some ability that some tools in the toolkit that local governments had. So we could not, Senator Stewart and others could not come to a real agreement on either bill. So I am going to move that we gently PBI each bill, and we can take those in 2 separate motions. And
we can do it in a block, can't we?
if you can do it in a block, that would be great. So I move that we PBI Senate Bill 208 and Senate Bill 944.
And that is a motion that includes a reference by the chairman asking the Housing Commission, which I sit on, to take this matter up over the summer.
Right, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't going to make that completely part of my motion, but there is a request that you send a letter, and I have the language to the Housing Commission asking them to specifically review these 2 bills, to study the implications, to address infrastructure capacity limits, and to bring all the stakeholders together. I did speak with the director of the Housing Commission.
Who's right here right now with us?
Palin. So we wanted.
Palin. No, what is it?
Hi, good afternoon, Elizabeth Pollen, Virginia Housing Commission.
Is that something that the Housing Commission can undertake?
We have the capacity and the interest, and we'd love to take it on.
Excellent. I can't wait to work on that in the Housing Commission this summer. We
Yeah,
understand,
and
and you understand the issues because we've been fighting this year, or fighting is not the right word, discussing and really trying to, take care of the proffer issue and impact fees and make sure that we create a balance between the two. So this is right up your alley.
One other element for
Senator
the record.
Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope that the Housing Commission can come back with a report to the chair of local government and the chair of House Counties and House County Cities and Towns by December 1st, 2019. Okay, very good.
Absolutely.
And Senator Favola, if you don't mind making sure that maybe, Elizabeth, you have a copy of this, what she's reading of, and also LT, you get a copy of this because I guess Hobie's got to prepare up a letter and make sure it gets to the Housing Commission. So if you could just follow through for me, I'd be very appreciative. But we appreciate that you're
Yes, Mr. Chair.
willing to take it, and actually it'll be fun to continue to study this. All right, so there's a motion, a rather lengthy motion, but you understand it, and we're taking the Senate Bill 2000, Senate Bill 208 and 944 up in a block. The motion is to PBI gently
Mr. Chairman,
with a
I'd like
letter.
to second that motion.
Motion being properly supported by a second. Is there
I'd
any?
like to explain that since I've been silent. This entire meeting, I haven't said one word.
Because you haven't been here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why ruin a good thing? But go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, the reason that I'm going to second that is I think that proffers and impact fees are horrible things, nasty things that we should never, ever allow. I just wanted to get that for the record today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator D. All right. So motion passed by indefinitely with a letter to the Housing Commission, who has said they will accept this and study it. And there's a motion and a second, and that's the discussion. Any more discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. That is passed by indefinitely with the letters to the Housing Commission. So thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate you being here. All right, we're gonna take one more thing here, but we're not gonna have any discussion. We're just gonna vote. Having voted on the prevailing side by which Senate Bill 1305 did not pass and remains in the breast of this committee, I now move that we reconsider that vote. Do I have a second? Second. First and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, open the roll. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this has to be unanimous, please. Close the roll.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
12 ayes, 0 nays. The bill is before us. Senator Edwards, we do not need a recitation of what this is about. If you'd like to talk about 2 minutes or less, and if it's possible for you to even talk 2 minutes or less. If it is not, just admit that it's not. It's good to admit things like that.
I can do all sorts of things. I'm ambidextrous.
Remember brevity, but
This does is put solid waste fees in the same category as stormwater fees and real estate taxes, so that there can be a lien on the property when somebody transfers the property. The locality gets paid. Roanoke City's treasurer's requested. I know of no organized opposition.
Okay, so this puts liens for trash on your house.
Liens for solid waste fees.
And recycling.
And stormwater fees in the same category, along with.
Don't pay your recycling, they can foreclose on your house. Is that right?
Well, it's a lien.
Liens can be foreclosed upon, right? Asserted?
Well, that's not gonna happen.
It can happen, though.
It could, yeah. Once the property is sold, then it would be paid.
Uh-huh, okay.
So solid waste fees.
What does this happen with rental units? I mean, does this go on, so I'm the landlord and somebody doesn't pay their recycling fee? Do I have a lien on my property?
I think most the solid waste fees are paid by the landlord, I think.
Some do, some don't, but if, Mr. Catron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me advise you that the reason this went by 7-7, yeah, I think you remember, correct?
That was that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be brief, I promise.
Yes.
To your question, the only way that this bill, the policy in this bill is implemented if it's on their tax bill. So renters don't get tax bills. Landowners get home property owners get tax bills. And in the case of the landowner has a mortgage on the property, it would go to the mortgage company and they would escrow for it and it would be paid. This bill is not going to really impact people with mortgages. The people that this might impact is somebody who's a landowner who does not have a mortgage, gets his tax bill and refuses to pay the trash bill. I understand what you're saying. And I have to answer a question from Senator Sturdivant that you asked me the whole last week. You asked if Roanoke City is impacted by this bill. They are, I'm not sorry, Richmond City. They are not. They collect their trash fees in another manner other than the trash bill being put on a tax bill. And I think you also asked me to find out what other localities this impacted. So I have that for you. The Treasurers Association did some research. Prince William County, Grayson County, Highland County, City of Chesapeake, City of Suffolk, City of Alexandria, and Pennsylvania County are the localities that we heard back from that include their trash fees, if you will, on their real estate tax bill that they send to a landowner. So I think this would impact a fairly small number of people, but the issue for us on the management side of this is we want to be able to dispense with this easily, and the easiest way for people never to have to worry about a lien being placed on their property is to pay their.
It's the first time I've done that. Turned off the mic. All right. Bill's before us.
Mr. Chairman,
Mm-hmm.
on this, I've got a question for the patron.
Yes.
So I own houses in Chesapeake, and I rent those houses out, primarily to military individuals. If they don't pay their trash bills, then that lien is put on the property, so I would have to pay it. And I just don't think that's fair. I don't think that if they're not paying to have their trash picked up, maybe they've got another way to do it, maybe they're taking their own trash. But I don't think I, as the owner of that house, should be liable and have a lien on my property. I think this is bad policy.
Stay right there, Rob. Stay right there. He asked the question to the senator.
It's not on the, it's on the tax bill.
Yeah, it's on the tax bill, and the owner pays the taxes.
Correct. So me as the owner, if my renter doesn't pay to have his, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes,
the operator, through the
Senator
chairman.
DeStaff.
So if me as the owner, if my renter doesn't pay to have his trash picked up, let's say he takes it himself, then I as the owner will have the lien put on me and it'll be on my tax bill.
Yeah, Rob, you can answer that one.
Yes, sir. Just to reiterate, Senator DeStaff, when you as the property owner receive your tax bill, the trash bill is included in that document. Or, so a landowner, I'm sorry, a renter in Chesapeake would never get a trash bill. Only the property owner gets the bill as part of their rent, as part of their real estate tax bill.
And
So-
the stormwater fees are already on there, is
Yes,
that
sir.
right?
So in Chesapeake, you have the tax bill, the stormwater tax bill, and the trash bill, all in one bill. So your renters, would you not get trash bills? In your case, Senator, that's what I'm trying to say. I hope that solves, I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Bill's
Actually,
before
my
us.
renter does pay the tax bill and
Bill's
pays
before
the
us.
trash bill. So that's not correct, yeah.
Motion to be made, a motion is made to report the bill. And the second properly supported. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to
Senator
do a
DeStaff.
substitute motion that we PBI this bill gently.
All right, the substitute motion on top of the primary motion is a motion to pass by indefinitely, gently. Is there a second to that? Hearing none, your substitute motion fails for lack of a second. We're now on the primary motion, which is to report. Is there any discussion on that motion? All right, clerk, open the roll. Hold on. Close the roll.
7 ayes, 4 nays, 2 abstentions.
Can you
Thank you,
change
Mr.
my?
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're very kind.
Senator Edwards,
See you on the floor.
there are do-overs in the General Assembly occasionally.
See you on the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you believe in miracles?
I do.
Good.
Every day.
Good, we just saw one here. All right, thank you. Next one up is Senator Peak, who has been very patient. So let's just report his bill without ever talking to him. I'm kidding. Senate Bill,
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
1699.
This is a very simple sidewalk bill.
All right, then tell it very simply.
I do have an amendment, I believe. Do you have that amendment?
You're getting less simple by the moment.
It's a very simple amendment.
Mr. Chairman, it's just one line amendment on line 121 after the word sidewalk, and I believe that appears twice. No, just once. After the word sidewalk, insert the phrase, comma, the need for which is substantially generated by the proposed development and reasonably.
Then required by the locality. And this, I don't like this statute, but apparently Lynchburg, my home city, adopted this statute and has been making developers build sidewalks. And in some places where they have made the developers build sidewalks, they are what are commonly referred to as sidewalks to nowhere. So this bill would allow, in those localities that make developers do that, them to put the money that would have been spent on the sidewalk to nowhere into a fund so that they can use that money to build the sidewalk in an area that will go somewhere. And Mr. Bulova has the same bill in the House.
Mr. Bulova?
Delegate Bulova.
Delegate Bulova, okay.
Delegate Bulova. And I believe I have yes.
Oh, it's not crossover yet. You shouldn't be here. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
As delegate has been to you.
It's our delegate, not delegate. Please.
You have the, I don't know.
Yeah.
Senator Peak, are you ready for prime time here, big
Oh,
guy?
I was ready until they started changing my bill around. Somebody, you four, okay, I got somebody here for it, so.
DB, you want to explain yourself here, maybe help them out?
I'll tell you what, however it appears, I want it to pass, and then we'll work it out in a committee if there are any problems. But that's what that bill does. It allows them to collect the money instead of wasting it on sidewalks to nowhere. They put it in a fund, and it goes to good sidewalks. I don't know what the problem was that you had with my language versus both.
Bless you.
Mr. Chairman, I
So,
think
DB.
I missed one thing, which was to strike the 3 words "as may be" that appear after sidewalk. That might clear that up.
Awesome. All right, let's get that amendment in order. Hold on, we got to get this in order. Somebody move the amendment.
So moved.
There we go. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And the amendment has been amended. So, Scotty, we're not singing to you this week.
No, and we're going to be brief, Mr.
Did you have a good birthday party?
I did, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
very good. And I mean, that night you rocked and
Yeah, absolutely. Or went
couldn't
to
remember
bed
what
to
happened.
come back here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We support this bill. The city of Lynchburg came to us early in the summer. They went through our legislative process, and so VML strongly supports the bill.
Very good, thank you. Always care what you guys think. Anybody else want to speak in favor of the bill?
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Alba, would you like to come forward and maybe say something enlightening to us or funny or anything?
This topic's really funny. I can
I know,
my
I can
jokes.
tell.
Right. So the language that Senator Peak put in made the bill track with other bills in this topic, which it fixes the problem where you can't make someone build a sidewalk if the sidewalk's not reasonably related to the property, right? So you can't just tell somebody, go build a sidewalk across town. So the language he put in here fixes that problem. The members of the home builders oppose the second part, which creates where he's creating a fund, mostly because it sets a precedent where first we create a sidewalk fund, then we create a stormwater fund, and I know how Christmas trees work. You know, later on it's a fund for everything. And so we would love the bill if it did not have the rest of that sentence in it.
Mr. Chairman?
So the home builders oppose the bill for that reason?
Yeah. In this present form, yes, sir.
And
Senator Peak?
I don't make that amendment, and I will say.
Don't make the amendment?
I do not make that amendment.
And why is that, sir?
Because they might not be ready to build the sidewalk. So you're proposing a development. And because of that development, the way the city does it, you've got to provide money for that area of the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have another area to put it in just yet. So they can hold it until there is a place that is where they're going to start building the sidewalk with other money. It's got to be held somewhere. It needs to go into a fund. So I'm not making that amendment. I've given enough to the home builders this session, so I'm not.
So,
Yeah.
so if someone made the amendment, you would not consider that a friendly amendment?
I would not consider it friendly.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Morrison.
Is this kind of a weird third cousin of nutrient trading or something? Where
Apparently it is, yes. And carbon, maybe it's a
TD
Senator,
It's like
Vice
that-
President Gore's carbon tax.
Mr. Chairman, this is a principle. This is a principle, of that I kind of like, where you do what makes sense instead of what is required by a proffer or whatever. Okay.
Not allowed to use that word.
So at any rate,
Word has
I
been
think it's kind of
banned.
an interesting concept. I would just hope that you would support this when it comes to pollution controls and.
Well, that's the kiss of death right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, I said I don't like the statute. I don't approve of the statute at all, but apparently it's been passed and Lynchburg has followed it. So I don't approve of the
We'll remember
process
this.
at all.
Ooh. Wow, it's getting feisty here in the end. I see this. Peak just brings us to another level, doesn't he? He really does. prize fighter. All right, is there anybody else that'd like to speak for or against this bill? We operate by motion.
Move to report.
Ooh. Motion to report the bill 1699 has been made, properly supported by a second. And is there any discussion on that? So far, you're getting a lot of love over here on the D side.
Wherever it comes.
All right, clerk, open the roll. Hold on. I don't know what she wants to do.
Oh, my goodness.
Nine
just
ayes,
don't
one
know.
nay, 3 abstentions.
I just didn't know. I don't want to vote them one way or the other. Felt like
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Plus, I can't wait till you explain that one on the floor. Hoo-ha. Sidewalks. All right. What do we got left? We got nothing in the queue in terms of outside, so it's all us. Close the door and turn on the music and tap the keg. It's just us, kids. Yes, Senator Hanger. Seniority first. What's...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 1312.
All right, Senate Bill 1312, please pay attention. Senator Hanger.
And this one will be easy to understand, and hopefully you will like it.
And let me give you a friendly reminder. He is the co-chairman of finance, so if you have a budget amendment, give special attention to this bill, I guess, right?
Hopefully this won't be a heavy lift for you.
Okay.
This came out of, as you're aware, we have a joint commission looking at fiscal stress local governments. And we have a requirement that certain localities, most localities, when they have an audit, supply that information to the Auditor of Public Accounts. There are some towns not required to have an audit, but voluntarily they would decide to have an audit. And this bill would require that they send that audit information then to the Auditor of Public Accounts, which will be very useful for us as we continue to evaluate fiscal stress. So that's what it does.
Okay, any questions to the patron? Hearing none, is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this piece of legislation? Hearing none, we operate by Senator D. Steph. You were quiet.
I just had one quick question.
Sure.
So if they volunteer to do an audit, wouldn't they be able to just send that audit into the Auditor of Public Accounts without us directing them to do so?
Mr. Chairman, we do, they could, but there you are.
I mean, do we have laws restricting that?
We happen to have the Auditor of Public Accounts here.
I was hiding behind the pole.
Welcome.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Martha Mavridis, the Auditor of Public Accounts.
Welcome,
They
Martha.
could send it to us, but they won't unless you direct it. Even the ones that are supposed to send it are very tardy in sending it. But we have probably had maybe 5 towns out of, say, 60 that do it voluntarily. They have the audit, they just don't send it in. And so it would help us as we're doing the fiscal stress analysis to have that additional information.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Steph. Thank you, Martha. Yes.
Unless you're going to ask for more speakers, I don't see anybody lined up. I think this is a pretty harmless bill, so I'm going to go ahead and move that we report it.
Is that a compliment or not?
Well, we do no harm. That's our first goal here, right?
Okay.
Hopefully, we can do good.
Motion to report Senate Bill 1312, properly supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, open the roll.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Please remember us in your future endeavors. All right, next one up. Call the ball. Senator Lewis, come on, bring it.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I've got 1559. And I believe there's a substitute.
All right, let's get the substitute in order and before us. Is there a motion? Move the substitute?
Second.
Second being properly made and supported of the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adopting the substitute, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. And the substitute is adopted and now before us.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, you heard a similar bill earlier by Senator Peterson, although similar but not identical. My bill also deals with the commercial property assessed clean energy program that we adopted I think Senator Peterson said 2008, but I think it was actually 2009. And what we seek to do, the structure of the program stays essentially the same, but what we seek to do is add resiliency improvements for mitigation of flooding and the impacts of flooding, and also stormwater management. And also, as you can see in paragraph 1, with a preference for natural or nature-based features in living shorelines as defined in 28.2-104.1. And again, the nuts and bolts of the program remains the same. It's a voluntary program. The locality has to pass an ordinance. It has to be advertised. The locality is directed to deal where appropriate with private lenders for the program. They enter into contracts with the property owners. It constitutes a lien on the property, and the property owner can pay the cost of that lien or the cost of that loan with its tax bill or utility assessment to the locality. That's the bill, Mr. Chairman. Again, purely voluntary. And also, I would like to point out, just received a letter from the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce from Candace Reed. Just briefly, Mr. Chairman, the passage of this legislation would enhance revitalization efforts in cities like Norfolk, which also values strongly the historic nature of so many structures and shorelines. Not only is CPACE flexible financing tool for businesses, but also expanding the legislation to include resiliency improvements will enhance our economic competitiveness and sustainability efforts throughout the region. We strongly urge the passage of Senate Bill 1559. Now, the difference, Mr. Chairman, is obviously Senator Peterson's bill dealt with expanding this to residential properties. And also, he added stormwater, did not specify the flooding and resiliency measures that I have, but also, as I said, expanded it to residential properties. This bill doesn't do that.
Okay, very good. Anybody have any questions of the patron? Hearing none from Senator Steph.
Move the report.
Hold on, is there anyone who wants to speak briefly in favor of this bill or against this bill?
We do have
Please
a
come
couple
forward.
people
You've been
here.
waiting the whole time. And you've been laughing at my jokes, so please come. You're able to speak. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, thanks. If every committee meeting could be this interesting, I would come because you are really funny.
Try hanging out with these guys, over here and over here. No, we actually have a good time here in local government because otherwise we'd cry. That's right.
Yeah, those shopping carts, man.
That's right. Karst bills.
That's right. Well, thank
Shopping
you very much.
carts.
I'll be very brief. My name is Abby Johnson, president of a clean energy efficiency financing company called Abacus Property Solutions. We have been involved in PACE around the country and in the Commonwealth for over 5 years. We helped with our colleagues get the legislation amended in 2015 to make it a stronger bill, and we are currently working with the state, with attorneys, with property owners, with lenders to bring this in Virginia to numerous counties. And we think this is going to make our the bill stronger. I mean, the CPACE program much stronger, because basically it helps reduce other elements of or increase property values for things like reducing flood insurance, increasing making the property more valuable in areas that have issues with flooding. And this has been done in other states like Florida very successfully. They have hurricane mitigation, they have wind resistant measures. And it's been something that's been very successful there. And so we think Alabama, which is now past PACE, had that specifically in their bill. And so over time, we've seen the value in doing things that are analogous and helpful to increasing the property value in addition to energy efficiency and clean energy. So, and we've been working closely with the Hampton Roads Chamber, with City of Norfolk. We have some representatives here as well. So we're very excited this bill was actually put in for consideration. So thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for your advocacy. Sir.
Good evening, Senator. My name is Bill Nussbaum. I'm an attorney with Williams Mullen in Norfolk, but I'm here in my volunteer capacity. And I've been working on PACE financing, getting it launched in Virginia for the last 4 years now. This is a tremendous opportunity, and we wholeheartedly support Senator Lewis's bill. We worked with his office on the language for the amendment and the nature of a substitute, and we thank you for your consideration, and we think it's good for the commercial real estate industry. I'm on the board of the Virginia Association for Commercial Real Estate, and the Hampton Roads Association for Commercial Real Estate, and PACE is something that they support as well. Hi, Senator.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Morgan Whalen from the City of Norfolk. The city is evaluating all potential tools in our toolbox to address resilience initiatives, and we thank Senator Lewis for putting this bill in and providing another way that we can address the resilience in our city.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I have a question, and it comes from a discussion with Senator Morrison and I. We have a bet here, because we know the compelling bills that you put in the queue, and they're always like this one. It's very compelling. So we were trying to think about one of your compelling bills, and it was a monkey bill where you wouldn't let people keep monkeys. Was it? Or you couldn't turn your monkey back in? What was that?
It was for the monkeys, Mr.
It
Chairman.
was a pro-monkey bill. I
It was a
get that.
pro-monkey bill.
So what was the bill, just in a nutshell? Monkey training bill? Trading. You couldn't trade a monkey?
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
So I think the bill failed. He says it's law. Who's right?
No, the bill failed.
Yeah. You owe me $5.
But we're coming back.
All right, you're gonna bring that back? I'll make sure it comes to local government, okay? Thank you. Are there any questions for the patron? Sorry, we just had a bet going on here and we couldn't get it straight.
No questions, Mr. Chairman, but I actually really like this bill. And it's
Good.
creative and innovative, it will help protect the shoreline. I move enthusiastically to report the bill.
Second.
Motion being properly made to report Senate Bill 1559 and supported by a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Clerk, open the roll. Look at you. Close roll.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. Senate Bill 1559 reports.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Sturtevant, you're the last two bills before crossover, huh? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, if we could go out of order and do Senate Bill 762 first. And the reason is there are about 10 or so citizens who have been here for several hours and want to get their bill.
Okay, and
heard.
we'll put like a 5-minute timer on it so everybody gets, we're not sitting here forever.
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, if you were on ag, you heard the reason that I brought this bill with regard to another bill that was considered by ag last week. I represent the county of Powhatan, and Powhatan has basically one main highway in and out, and that is Route 60. It is called Midlothian Turnpike in Chesterfield County, Anderson Highway in Powhatan County, and it runs the length of Powhatan. It is a 4-lane highway, 2 lanes in each direction, and it connects Powhatan with our neighbor to the west, Cumberland County. And our friends and neighbors in Cumberland are in the process of working to develop a mega landfill over 1,000 acres. And they're doing that just right across the Powhatan line in Cumberland off of Route 60, which, as you might imagine, if this were happening in your district, is going to have a significant impact on Powhatan County and Chesterfield County as well, because the estimates, depending on who you talk to, there are going to be 250 very sizable trash trucks that are going to be running up and down Route 60 every day, going through Chesterfield, through Powhatan, just over the line into Cumberland to drop off the trash there in the landfill. And so I had a separate bill to try to address that and sort of bring Cumberland and Powhatan together to find an amenable way forward that did not overly and negatively impact Powhatan, and that bill was not successful, unfortunately. This is, I think, a more narrowly tailored bill that is simply going to require Cumberland or any locality to submit to VDOT a traffic impact analysis for a rezoning application for a new solid waste management facility. So for essentially, whenever there would be a new landfill that would be opened as part of that rezoning process, you would have to submit a traffic impact analysis to VDOT, and that's all that this does. And the idea is that there is at least going to be some assessment of the traffic impact on the state-maintained roadways that these 250-plus trash trucks are going to be traveling each day through Chesterfield, through Powhatan, and back. And again, the estimates are about 250 trash trucks each day, and that's going to be 500 trips, 250 trucks each way, which is a significant impact on this state-run, state-maintained roadway.
Okay.
And so that's really the long and the short of the bill, Mr. Chairman. It's, I think, narrowly tailored, but it's going to address and provide some protection for Powhatan and Chesterfield residents to make sure that their roadways are not negatively impacted in ways that at least we can try to mitigate that through this
So,
process.
Sturtevant, this is really just Powhatan bill, right? And if it's special to the area, or does this affect all of Virginia by what you're saying?
This would affect,
The entire
this would be a policy that any locality that is going to be building a landfill has to submit a traffic impact analysis to VDOT as part of that rezoning application. And again, the reason being is
So we're asserting upon all of Virginia's local governments, or a requirement of doing something because one local government doesn't like what another local government is doing. Is that a proper way of saying it?
No.
Okay, then tell me what.
It's not, Mr. Chairman. This is recognizing that there is a significant impact on the state-maintained roadways by hundreds of trash trucks traveling each way on state-maintained roadways every single day.
All right.
And currently, there is not a requirement that there be a traffic impact analysis as part of the rezoning application process for building a new landfill. This would require that.
Is there any questions to the patron?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Marsden.
Would this affect the current landfill rezoning application, or is this just going forward for anybody who does it in the future?
This, as far as I know, that application has not been submitted. So they would, if this legislation were to be passed and signed into law, they would simply have to submit a traffic impact analysis as part of the rezoning application.
Senator Marsden.
Mr. Chairman, so that would be for the jurisdiction that's doing the rezoning, they would just take that analysis into account as they made their decision?
They would submit it to VDOT.
They would submit it to VDOT.
Which is what the bill requires.
And what would Mr. Chairman?
Senator Marsden.
What would VDOT do with a traffic analysis that says, yes, you're going to get 250 trucks, which I calculate somewhere on this situation to be like every 3 minutes or something like that, a truck would be coming by. What could VDOT say that would have any impact on the project, other than, yes, there will be more traffic?
Sure. Well, this is all, if you'll, Mr. Chairman, Senator Marsden, if you look at the actual change that we are making to current code, this is already required when a rezoning proposal will substantially affect transportation on state-controlled highways. And this application has to include a traffic impact statement now if it's required by local ordinance or pursuant to regulations promulgated by VDOT. This is adding a third requirement that when there is a new landfill being built, that a traffic impact analysis be submitted to VDOT. And then the next line says that within 45 days of its receipt of that traffic impact analysis, VDOT shall either provide written comment on the proposed rezoning to the locality or schedule a meeting to be held within 60 days of its receipt of the proposal with the local planning commission or other agent and the rezoning applicant to discuss potential modifications to the proposal to address any concerns or deficiencies. So this simply involves VDOT in the process when state-maintained roads are going to be potentially impacted, so that there is, VDOT has a seat at the table to address the mitigation of what they see as potential negative impacts of the rezoning.
Okay. Any more questions? So anyone like to speak for the bill? And if you are, I'm going to put you on both sides on a timer, 5 minutes. All right. come forward. Thank you for coming today. We're sorry to make you listen to all of this that we.
Oh, it's been very entertaining.
Thank you.
My name's Frida Cathcart. I'm from Southwest Virginia, Floyd County, as well as Roanoke. And a good friend of mine, Tina Badger, who lives in Montgomery County in Elliston, sent me the following because she wasn't able to be here today when she heard about this bill and the importance of it, not just for Chesterfield, but throughout the Commonwealth. She writes about how there was a Smith Gap landfill on the edge of Montgomery County, and Roanoke County was where the landfill took place. And after they zoned it and had the landfill, they took land via eminent domain from landowners in Montgomery County in order to access the landfill. And they used Montgomery County roads to truck in rock, dirt, and leachate. And they're subjecting Roanoke County residents to road hazards and excess noise. And she also said that they are currently exploring putting a road behind her house that is proposed to have 50 to 60 loads of garbage and semi-trucks traveling in daily. And she lives out in the country on a little country road. So this is the type of impact that happens when counties don't work together and have a traffic analysis. And this is something that this bill would be a solution for. And as I was walking on the grounds today in the Capitol, I saw the Native American Memorial that reminded us of the 4 R's that was the foundation of law in our government and this land before colonialism. The 4 R's are respect, responsibility, reciprocity, and responsibility. Unfortunately, current county governments can't be counted on to act according to the 4 R's. So we need a remedy by our state government, and I hope that you will vote yes for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your advocacy and coming here forward. That's very important. All right, you guys got about 3 minutes left, so kind of share your time, share the road.
Mr. Chairman, Carson Tucker, I'm the outgoing Board of Supervisors Chairman for Powhatan County.
Yes, sir.
We have people here from Powhatan and Cumberland today in support of this bill. We're not interested in telling any local jurisdiction nearby what they can and cannot do with their land. We understand the sovereignty of the county. What we are asking for is the courtesy of an objective study, an analysis of the effects on such projects on nearby localities. This mega dump, situated essentially on the jurisdictional line between Powhatan and Cumberland, is primarily affecting Powhatan County. As you heard, our Route 60 runs from 288 to the Cumberland line. 85% of this garbage will be coming along Route 60, which is our main thoroughfare for our commuters, for our schools, and for our shoppers. We're concerned because nobody seems to be paying attention to what happens over a jurisdictional line. And we believe a traffic impact study will show what's the connection between one locality and the other, not just what happens within a locality, but across the lines. We would respectfully ask that you do the same thing that was done 40 years ago by the General Assembly when the city of Richmond was basically planning to put a landfill in Powhatan, and we were given the opportunity to speak and do a traffic impact study, which showed the effects on Powhatan. Please consider our respectful request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service to your locality. Yes, sir.
Ronald Tavernier, Cumberland County. The last 9 miles of Route 60 Anderson Highway is 2-lane highway, unrestricted access, several roads, many driveways, no curbs, no sidewalks, no layovers, no pullover areas, and it's a 55-mile-an-hour speedway. It also contains a section of road that's the 78th worst intersection in the state of Virginia. Anderson Highway is divided between the Appomattox River watershed and the James River watershed. A tank trailer full of leachate going off one side of the road can contaminate one, going off the other side can contaminate James River, Chesapeake Bay, etc. Yesterday, they had a tractor trailer in Newcastle County on Route 60 where it's 4-lane turnover and block all eastbound lanes for many hours. Route 60 is our primary route to our medical services, trauma centers, and fire resources in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name's Tim Kennel, Cumberland County. Thank you. It's a very unique situation with this facility in that it borders on Cumberland, Powhatan line. A half a mile of US Route 60 two-lane road is in Cumberland County, so it quite honestly doesn't impact the citizens of Cumberland County that much, teeny bit. However, Powhatan, it runs the entire length of that county. What makes it significant is any landfill facility of this size, this will be number 2 in the state, second only to Sussex County, and it'll certainly rank among the top 20 in the state of Virginia, passes along a 2-lane highway rather than a 4-lane highway for Sussex with train access, or the 4-lane highway of US 360 for the Amelia facility, also having train access. So it's a unique situation. It's our job as our government to protect our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. That line keeps
Mr.
growing,
Chairman
so.
and committee members, I'm Robert Bishop from Powhatan County. I commend Senator Sturtevant for presenting this proposed bill. Good or bad, 20 years ago, I built my retirement home 1/8 of a mile off of Route 60. Since that time, I am able to travel up and down 60 without any problem. But with my wife, and many other citizens, we become uncomfortable. We've got many dump trucks coming from Luckstone. We've got trash trucks local. We've got all of the other vehicles that come up and down. We are thankful people could come from Prince Edward, Cumberland County, and Buckingham County and go to work in Richmond, but they travel Route 60. If my wife makes me wash dishes, I can look out and see every truck and every tractor and all the wear and tear that's already going on Route 60. So I thank you for considering this as a very important bill to the citizens of Powhatan County.
Thank you, sir, for advocating for Powhatan and also for doing the dishes for your wife. I appreciate that, too. I know how that feels.
Hi, my name is Lori Halligan from Powhatan County. I don't want to repeat what previous people said here, but I do want to say that when this was proposed, I did contact VDOT, and essentially they told me that this traffic assessment wasn't needed because Route 60 is built for trucks, which run on it now. However, they are equating this rural road with approximately 50 driveways, private driveways coming out onto this road, dangerous intersections, no traffic lights at all on this single road to a 4-lane highway. And that I have yet to see the common sense in that. So I fully support this bill and thank Senator Sturtevant for bringing this.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming to the Capitol and stating your position. Yes, sir, please. Step forward. Let's be brief.
I'm Keith Ollie of Cumberland County, and I had a speech prepared, but everyone has covered it pretty well. I'll keep it short. I support this bill.
We like you, Keith. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Chris Rankin. I'm resident of Cumberland County, and I support this bill.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for coming. Thank you for keeping it short. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Bill Cox. I'm on the Planning Commission of Powhatan County. When you have a project like this, it comes in lumps, big hunks. As a planner in the county trying to look forward and figure out what we can and cannot do with our infrastructure, this type of assessment and information is critical. Please support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Kevin Halligan. I'm a resident of Western Powhatan County, and I'm asking you to support the bill. The single-lane road is going to be bringing trucks from 21 states, a 500-mile radius, are going to be coming down that road. That's how large the landfill is going to be. That's 250 to 300 trucks plus local trucks and contractors, which are going to bring it up to 1440. Western Powhatan has become more developed over time. We have neighborhoods, and that single road has school buses going up and down. It's 10 miles of a single road that, as other people have said, intersections are hazardous, driveways. So please support the bill.
Sir, can you answer me a question? What is a citizen's best hope for, let's say, an impact study by the VDOT is done according to this bill? What do you hope to get from it?
if they either.
I mean, basically, you want
just-
to, you
I
want
want
it says,
them, obviously, I want them to say the road can't handle it, and
Okay,
it has to
all
be,
right.
absolutely.
yes, sir, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Betty Myers, and I'm a resident of Cumberland County. I don't want Virginia to become known as the trash state, and so that's why I support this bill, because this isn't just for Cumberland County or Powhatan County,
Right.
it's for all of Virginia. So if New York wants to have their trash, let them take some of their own rolling hills and make a trash dump up there. Don't bring it down here.
Thank you,
Don't
Betty.
trash Virginia.
Thank you, ma'am, thank you for coming. Senator Sturtevant, I don't know that you need to wrap up. Oh, is there anyone against this bill? Sorry. Forgot. I will start timer.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, B. Gonzalez, on behalf of County Waste and all the companies of the Virginia Waste Industries Association, I'm here today to oppose this legislation. This bill is aimed directly at our facility in Cumberland County, the Greenridge landfill facility. But this bill creates an undue regulatory burden on solid waste management facilities across the state. The Department of the VDOT has already requires any project that needs rezoning to provide a traffic impact study if the proposed rezoning may substantially affect the volume of state-controlled highways. That's usually 5,000 vehicles that triggers that study. We have done our own traffic impact study, and given the fact that we've already done our traffic impact study, which I'll get to in a minute, given this fact, a traffic impact statement should only be required based purely due to the traffic generated, not an arbitrary listing of specific uses in the code. County Waste's proposed landfill in Cumberland and the operators had multiple meetings with VDOT. So we've gone through the process of the Planning Commission, the board, we've had public hearings, we've met with VDOT, had substantive discussions with the landfill traffic engineer and VDOT. VDOT even put a traffic counter on Route 60. So they also found that our figures were correct, and they're comfortable with the project. In fact, they have a letter that they sent to our project on October 30th saying that the traffic impact was negligible. In fact, as you all know, VDOT grades roads from an A to F rating. Our project did not change the existing letter grade on any category at any time of day. And when we're talking about the 250 trucks that we're talking about, those are coming at off-peak hours as well. So I want to make sure that you are aware of that. If this bill was to pass, it would cause any solid waste management facility to undertake up to a 4-month process for something that is not even necessary because VDOT has already claimed that it is not necessary. This increases the regulatory burden on the waste management industry, in fact, increasing waste disposal costs. This is a bad precedent. This is solely targeted at our facility. We have done everything by the letter of the law. We have had the Powhatan residents as part of every public hearing we've held. But this is a huge economic development project for Cumberland County. We've been working on this project for a while, and we're looking forward to moving forward. This isn't a traffic issue. It's a critical economic development project, and most of the constituents in Senator Peake's district support the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Yes, ma'am. Welcome
Vivian
back.
Giles, Cumberland County Attorney, County Administrator. I just want to correct one thing. The rezoning on this particular project was completed June 28th of 2018. That all property has been rezoned for this project, so that's done. We agree there's no reason to single out the solid waste industry. We agree that this code section 15.2, 22, 22.1 already provides for the opportunity to analyze economic development projects when they substantially affect traffic in the Commonwealth. VDOT has been at the table with this project since day one. They have told us individually more than once that this particular project has no impact on their analysis for Route 60, that Route 60 can easily absorb this traffic, not just now, but they projected out to approximately 2050, and it still it didn't hit their radar, so to speak. So the answer has been the same time and time again to require a traffic impact analysis, and I don't think that the way the bill is presented, I don't think it would require it for our project anyway, but even if it did, the answer is going to be the same. The question has been asked repeatedly. The answer is going to be the same. There's no reason to require then for any other localities in Virginia who might want to undertake an economic development project
Mr. Chairman,
like this.
question for So what your testimony is that the rezoning's already been done.
It was.
The traffic impact study has already been done because of VDOT's involvement throughout this process and their review of the privately done study. So this is a statewide impact bill for a situation that has already been determined.
That's correct. And just to add to that, previous to this particular landfill project, a different company was planning to build a landfill in Cumberland County, and the same analysis was done at that point in time, and the same answer was arrived at, and that is that the truck traffic, in fact, that project, I think, had a little more traffic anticipated, and even then, that project,
Mr. Chair.
whatever the case, if my numbers are wrong, but whatever the case, but at that point, another landfill project was the same answer.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Follow-up
Senator
question.
McClellan.
Follow-up question either for the current witness or maybe Joe Lurch. So this bill would not impact the landfill in Cumberland, but under current law, VDOT has already set parameters on when a traffic study is required or not.
Yes.
And as I understand it, those parameters are based not on what is the purpose of the project or the specific project, but what is the anticipated increase in the cars on the road.
Correct.
Right? And this is a VDOT road, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And VDOT is in the best position to figure out when they think a traffic study is required, right?
That would be our position, Senator, yes.
And from VDOT's perspective, and if you're looking at what is the impact of any development going to have, it shouldn't matter specifically what the development is, right?
That would be our position, Senator. Yes, we would concur entirely with that analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Are there?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Mr. Lurch, please come
Mr. Chairman,
forward.
Joe Lurch, Virginia Association of Counties, and I'll make it very brief.
Thank you.
Because I think it's all been covered. But since this became law in 2006, any locality that has a rezoning has to notify VDOT, and then they evaluate, the impact to the state roads, just as Senator McClellan said. So our concerns with this is we're now adding to that a cost either on, an applicant or a locality to pay for a traffic study when VDOT is already going to review this through the rezoning process. And we're worried about the precedent that this may set for other uses to be included in this law. We think currently the way the law is, it's working well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lurch.
Mr. Chairman, question for the patron, Senator Sturdivant.
Senator Marston.
I can appreciate what this, the difficulty the community has in adjusting to this change in circumstances. But I guess it's the same question, for you, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to answer it. It seems like the rezoning's done, that there's been a traffic study that's been reviewed by VDOT, that they were engaged in this process. There had been one done previously for another landfill operation, and it seems like the horse is out of the barn on this one, and that it's kind of too late to go back and with this bill and impact this particular project, and all this would be is prospective going forward, is the testimony that I'm hearing. Is that your understanding?
I am not involved in the rezoning process, and so can't speak to where that is. I understand from talking to some of the citizens that it sounds like that the last actual traffic study is something like 20 years old, and that to the extent VDOT has looked at this, it's limited in its aspect to only the entrance into the actual landfill site, as opposed to the entire stretch of Route 60 State Highway that these trucks will be traveling, both to and from. But again, I think as one of the other speakers mentioned, this is broader than just this particular situation. Any locality that any of us represent could be in a very similar situation where a landfill is opened right across the border, and yet the the state-maintained highways that are in our district are used to travel back and forth to bring that out-of-state trash to that landfill. And that we want to make sure that, at the very least, that there is going to be some detailed analysis by VDOT of the stretch of that roadway that will be used for time immemorial. And that does not, to my understanding, happen now. Only if there are something like up to 5,000 new cars and trucks that are being run on that highway is a new VDOT traffic study performed, not in a situation like this where it may only be 500 trips a day by very sizable trucks, trash trucks.
Okay, thank you, Senator Sturban. Anyone else have a question? Seeing no questions, we operate by motion. Bill is before us.
Lead a report.
Motion report being made. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion on that motion? You know you can second your own. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question related to the motion.
Yes.
Since this seems to be adding additional work to VDOT's workload, is there a need to refer this to finance?
You know, that's a very good point. I think this would have an impact on VDOT, would it not, Chairman Hanger?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
He mumbled possibly.
I would guess that something involving 250 trucks a day and what have you would be something that could be absorbed by the agency. I don't know that this needs to go to finance.
I didn't get a letter from
If
you.
you want to send it up to us, we can.
But I would let finance determine that.
So I would like to make a substitute motion, Mr. Chairman, that we report and re-refer to finance.
Report and re-refer to finance.
Refer, not re-refer.
I'll second that.
Report and refer. Huh? What? Are we reporting and re-referring? Or just referring?
Or we can just, Mr. Chairman, how
How about we take
how about we refer to finance?
I'd like to report and refer to finance, Mr.
LT,
Chairman.
is that okay?
Sure.
You'd like a report and re-refer? All right, I feel like I'm ordering pizza for
I'm going
8
to withdraw
kids.
my motion at this point in time.
All right,
Mr. Chairman.
let's clear the decks. Everybody withdraw your motion. Withdrawn? No. Really? We have an amendment, a technical amendment.
If you do an amendment, you'll have to report.
Yeah, if you change it. Now it's to report it, which is a vote in the affirmative in support of the legislation, and to re-refer to finance.
Mr. Chairman, just one quick line amendment. On line 42, after the citation 10.1-1408.1, add the words, except for a non-captive industrial landfill.
And what does that do? That's not a technical amendment, is it? It's a little more substantive than that.
These are landfills that are not the ones that they've been referring to this entire time. They are completely within the bounds of a site and not bringing in new material from outside.
So I'm sorry. You said, what is the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, would you like that amendment, to the amendment?
Right, yeah, I don't think that I wanted that. No. Mr. Chairman, that's not an amendment we're going to seek to make, and I would defer to the chairman on what he thinks is the best way to proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to refer it to finance.
Council, is that, or clerk, is that proper, LT? No adoption of an amendment has occurred, so the power of the committee is to report the bill or just to refer it to another committee or to pass the bill by indefinitely. We have a motion to simply refer this to finance.
Second.
A second being properly supported of the motion. Is there any discussion about the bill that we're about to undertake? The hedge. I'm kidding. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, open the roll.
Six ayes, 7 nays.
last bill, the next one that I've got?
It's the last bill, yeah.
Okay. All right. Can you just give me 1 second?
Sure. No. It was it was just to refer. No. You want to call back up and get it out here?
How did?
I have a motion on your previous bill. Hold on. Your bill's back in play for a second. Just stop. Senator Favola.
Mr. Chairman, I would like staff to read the motion that we just voted on with this bill previously.
Was it a report and re-refer or just a refer? Straight refer, no report. Do you have a motion?
Move to refer to finance.
No. We've got a dead bill here. It can only be, yes.
How did Surville vote on that motion?
Proxies cannot be used the person holding a proxy cannot make a motion using it. Did you vote? No.
He did, okay.
Did you? I voted yes somehow. Who voted no? Who voted no to refer?
I voted no to refer.
You want to reconsider that?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, having voted on the prevailing side, I move that we reconsider that vote.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Resuscitation has occurred. Having voted on the previous side, the motion is second to reconsider, a second being properly made. All in favor of motion reconsider, as is our way to always give that. Open the roll. The bill is before us again. Senator DeSteph, your motion was to be clear to all.
I'd like to renew my motion to refer it to finance.
And LT, can you explain in terms of clerk sense, that is not a motion to report, is it? It is sending it to another committee for further consideration, is that right? None of these senators by voting to refer it are supporting the bill necessarily, is that right, LT? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Marsden.
I just think we need to deal with this bill here. I don't know why it needs to go to finance. No, I'm going to vote no.
I get it. I'm sitting next to Senator Hanger. You know that, right? Okay. He said he'd take it. All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Just to refer, so that everybody's clear now. Open the roll.
Yes.
Oh, hold on. Open the roll. Leave the roll open. Somebody's.
Okay, I got it.
You good?
Wait a minute. Yeah. No, yeah. Sorry about that.
Six. Yeah. All right, close the roll.
7 ayes, 6 nays.
7 ayes, 6 nays. Senate Bill 1762 is referred and still alive. You may want to, Senator Sturtevant, it sounds like to me that if this is a local issue, then maybe trimming it down to a local issue is the best way to get it passed. You know what I'm saying? Putting this all upon the state because of one local issue sometimes
Just trying to
is the problem. No, and I understand.
protect everybody's district.
Look, you're doing a great job for Powhatan. There's no question. And I see what you're doing. I'm just trying to maybe give you a little advice on how you get it passed. But it is not dead now. So, ladies and gentlemen who came today in support of Senator Sturtevant's bill, I thank you for your advocacy for your community. You may have to come back. When is Senate Finance Transportation meeting? Just so.
We'll docket this. We may, it's not for certain, but we may put this on the Transportation Subcommittee tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. Okay.
There you go. All right, next one.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you all for coming.
This is Senate Bill 1262. This is a bill that has, I brought before this committee last 2 years, and it is a bill that would require our localities and our school divisions, not all of them, but our localities that are with a population greater than 25,000 and a school division with more than 5,000 students to simply put their check registers online. This is a transparency bill. We have localities and school divisions across the Commonwealth that already do this. It is a bill that allows citizens and the media and government watchdogs to be able to see exactly how their tax dollars are being spent by these localities, and their school divisions over the last 2 years have worked with the localities to ensure that we are not going to be disclosing confidential information or information that is otherwise not subject to FOIA. And that really is the bottom line with this bill, is this is going to be information, this is information that is already subject to FOIA, and it simply requires the periodic posting on the either local government's or the school system's website so that that information is available to everyone. Oftentimes, as you all know, if you've been involved in local government or followed local government, a county or city or school system's annual budget will be online and will be available, but it oftentimes does not have the sort of detail that the actual check register of a locality or a school system would have. And again, would ask that the committee report this bill.
Okay, thank you, Senator Sturdivant. Excellent presentation there. Is there any questions of the patron? Anybody in favor of the bill? Looky, looky. Hello.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Megan Ryan with Virginia Coalition for Open Government. We wanted to thank the senator for bringing this to your attention 3 times in a row. I'd like to thank the committee for reporting it out 3 times in a row, and I hope that this time it is a 4th time. We just want to reiterate that money coming in and money going out is the most fundamental bit of information that the government can provide its citizens. The postings that the bill proposes can be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet like Fluvanna has been doing for years, or it can be fancy or complex. It doesn't matter. It just needs to reach the people. It can obviate the need for a FOIA request as well, because if this information is online, then they can get it without having to go through the FOIA process. And it can reach people who don't even know that they have a right to access this information through FOIA. It's there for anyone who may stumble upon it or who may just have the idea to go looking for it. So I urge you to pass this bill again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is Amanda Chase here? Does she support the bill? She does. Does she? All right. Anybody else in support of the bill? Support of the bill? Watch me keep the local government people back there. Support of the bill? Come forward if you're supporting the bill. Look at that. It's like hemlock.
Mr. Chairman?
Poison ivy. Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. Don't want to short circuit the process if there's somebody out there adamantly opposed, but we have dealt with this before. Last year, most recently, we reported it out. And
10-3.
The fight will be somewhere down the road, so I would move that we report the bill.
Mr.
Chair, before
You voted, you and Barbara and Jeremy voted against it.
wait, Mr. Chairman.
All right, guys. Whoa. Hey, listen, I'm holding on to the handlebars here, kids. All right?
Okay.
Those that are against the bill, please come forward and tell us very quickly why, because it's 6:20 and Marston's getting hangry.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Joe Lurch, Virginia Association of Counties. And just briefly to state, we support this being a voluntary option. And in fact, we think there might be a better way to do this. You know, Megan Ryan, in her testimony said, you know, you put it out there and people can stumble upon the information. There's actually a great example. The state of Ohio and their state treasurer put together Checkbook Ohio. And they make it available to all the state agencies and then all the localities voluntarily. It's one website, one source. They even have an app, which you can download. And it's a way for people to access that information. And here on their website, every week, more local governments and schools are joining voluntarily, onecheckbook.com. And it's a list of all those. And we think that's a better way to move forward. You know, right now, localities, if they go down this road, they're going to have to make this expense. And they don't even know if anybody's actually going to the website. I know in testimony last year I pointed out that Danville did this for 18 months, spent more than $30,000, and realized only about 6 of their constituents were looking at it online, so they discontinued it. So we think this is just a better way. We're not against the concept, but we think it should be voluntary, and we think it should be more useful to the citizens of the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lurch. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Alan Albert on behalf of the Treasurers Association.
Hello, Alan.
We have not, hello, Mr. Chairman, you've done a wonderful job today. It's been a great day. There was no one,
Oh,
unfortunately,
just keep that up.
has testified in French yet today,
No,
but
no,
other than that, it's been pretty good. We have not been involved in the two prior years. VACO and VML have taken the lead on this, but in the last day, VACO and VML asked us to look at it because, of course, disbursements are the function of the treasurer. And I want to echo what Joe has said. The purpose of this bill obviously is a very good purpose. And the language is modeled on the Commonwealth data point language that's in Title 2.2. It's a little harder at the local level, though, and one thing I want to say to you is this. I mean, the Commonwealth Data Point was a huge project for the Auditor of Public Accounts. There is a staff person at APA who is responsible for the data point, and she does a fantastic job, but it's a real job. And the way this bill is written, this is even going to apply, for instance, to the town of Blacksburg, to the town of Herndon and the town of Christiansburg are very close to having it apply. There are also some concerns here about privacy, and there's a statutory conflict I want to bring to the attention of council. This bill is in direct conflict with 58.1-3131, which you put on the books 15 years ago to deal with check finders. Right. These commercial, Mr. Chairman, you know what I'm talking about, commercial services who would use FOI to go to the locality and say, give us a list of all your uncashed checks. Then they would reach out to those people and say, for a small fee, we will tell you about some money you could get from your government. Right. And we actually, it was such a problem, particularly in Northern Virginia, that we put that bill, that statute on the books in 2003. There are also some statutory issues with respect to the tax secrecy statute, 58.1-3. And I just want to, I looked at the Commonwealth data point today just to reacquaint myself. And, sure enough, you can go in and find out what your Commonwealth's attorney charged for mileage. It's in there if you drill down far enough. Payroll checks are just lumped together, but at a local level, there's a lot of redaction that would have to be done. You think about public assistance payments. If you get a tax refund, that's going to show up in there. There are Social Security numbers. It's a lot of work. And there's no question in my mind, as Joe said, that this is a great thing for localities to do. But you start talking about a county that has 5,000 or 10,000 people, right, and a small government apparatus. This is really a huge burden to mandate it. I think and if we're going to mandate it, I think we've got to look at these statutory conflicts. I think we've got to look at aggregating, and we really ought to think long and hard about whether we're going to impose this on all of these small towns, cities, and counties that just don't have the apparatus. It's one thing where you have the controller in Virginia and a massive accounting system and an auditor of public accounts. It's another thing where you've got a town finance department. That's right. So as much as I like the bill, I think it would be, I think it raises a lot of problems that are in the realm of unintended consequences. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Tom Smith, the Superintendent's Association. We do have concerns. We've talked about this bill for every year it's been in. It is an unfunded mandate to local school divisions. You've got to remember, many of these school divisions, and I know it's limited to those over 5,000. Well, that's a lot of school divisions in terms of right around the 5,000. We're talking about systems like Accomack, Bedford, Culpeper, Gloucester, Harrisonburg, Henry, Alawite, Lynchburg, Orange, Pennsylvania, Rockingham, Shenandoah, Tazewell, Washington, Wise, and Prince George. And one of the commonalities they have, along with being around the size between, say, 5 and 10,000, is the fact that they all are, the LCI are 40 or 0.4 or below. 0.4 or below are not rich counties. Their finance departments, I was one. Their finance departments are usually 2 to 3 people. Payroll clerk, receivables clerk, and maybe one other person. To do this, even on a quarterly basis, is going to be a difficult thing to do, probably requiring hiring another person. So in that, if the state's going to mandate this,
then as we've asked with other issues, we would ask the state to pay for it too, which I don't see any bill in that in terms of helping with that requirement. So we're opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hello, Stace.
Mr. Chairman, Stacey Haney with the School Board Association. We're also opposed to the legislation. And as Dr. Smith said, there's a long list of school divisions that are small school divisions that aren't rich school divisions that would be impacted by this legislation. And particularly this session, we've seen a lot of mandates flying around on local school divisions that are going to require additional support staff. And until the General Assembly eliminates the support staff cap, local school divisions' hands are really tied. So we're heaping more and more responsibilities on local school boards, which don't have the authority to tax. So we can't raise taxes to pay for these additional positions. The General Assembly is not funding these additional positions. So what we're left to do is heap more responsibilities on already overburdened local school board employees, and so we would ask that you defeat the bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy.
Mr. Chair, I would point out there is a budget amendment to lift the cap on support.
There's a budget amendment?
Yes, to lift the cap on support personnel.
Okay.
We're working on it. It is.
Oh, is that your bridge too far budget amendments you said?
It is a little less than $400 million. So.
Shazam.
Yes.
You go, McClellan. Think big.
Go big or go home.
That's exactly right, Senator.
Michelle Gaddy, VML. Briefly, one of the problems we have with the bill, and we appreciate that he attempted to amend it to the 25,000 population or higher, but we still have localities that do a checkbook registry that still wouldn't comply with his bill. And that's really our concern, is we have a lot of localities trying to do some transparent work online, but it still wouldn't meet the requirements of this bill and would require, again, a fiscal impact. So thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Chair.
Senator McClellan.
I have a question, I think, for the patron. I support this concept. I have voted for this bill in the past. I have at least 2 localities that do some version of this. But the issue that has been brought to my attention by at least one locality that does make this information available is the specific data points and the way you've requested the information to be provided is not what they currently do, and it would require them to spend significant money to change information that's already publicly available. So that's the wind up to my question. Are you wedded to specific data being presented in a specific way, or are you wedded to a mandate that the localities make their expenses publicly available in some form or fashion? So I think there is a kind of middle ground somewhere.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Senator McClellan, I mean, what the bill says is, has to show vendor name, date of payment, amount, and description of the type of expense. So there's really 4 categories that I don't know that are.
Including credit card purchases. So, I mean, I think, are you requiring that it has to designate what's a credit card purchase or what's not?
Not necessarily, no, that doesn't need to be designated as a credit card purchase, just has to indicate the type of, a description of the type of expense, which is intentionally broad to give that discretion to the localities.
Excellent. Okay. We good? We operate by motion.
And there were some concerns, I think, raised by the treasurers for the first time here tonight at
10-3.
And I'll move to, and I'm happy to continue working with them throughout this process to address any concerns they might have. There is a line amendment that I think was.
We're going to pass this over for a week and let you work on that line amendment, and then we'll come back.
The line amendment is ready, and it's.
No, we're going to pass this by for a week and come to our next meeting when we're not having another meeting? You're not supposed to say that. Make the line amendment.
Mr. Chairman, it's 3 line amendments. First one on line.
3? 3? He said a line amendment. He did not say 3 line
I
amendments.
said line amendments.
Amendments.
Alignments.
Amendments. All right, fine, whatever.
The first one on line 19, after the citation, insert the phrase, comma, or as otherwise specifically provided by law. The second line amendment is just striking the word "and" at the end of that same line, line 19. And then the third line amendment is inserting a final subparen 4, which would say, any information related to a settlement or contract that contains a confidentiality clause.
So it's limiting what will not be disclosed, or is expanding what will not be disclosed.
Are those amendments you knew about, and are they friendly?
They're friendly.
Let's get this in form first.
I move the amendment.
Motion being made, properly supported by a second, to move the amendments to the line amendments as previously stated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Those amendments are before us and adopted into your.
Mr. Chairman, I move we gently PBI.
Ooh, hold on. He can make his own motion first. Motion to report. Is there a second?
I offer a substitute.
I'm going to second his motion. You now offer a substitute motion. And what is your substitute motion?
I move that we gently PBI this. For lots of reasons, I think it's well-intentioned. I think many school systems do this now. I think they want to do it in a way that is easy and complementary to their data systems. My school systems are still saying this is too specific in what it requires, and they do make information available, so.
All right, do we have a second to that? Second. Okay, so now we can have discussion on the substitute motion, which is the PBI. Pass by indefinitely.
Gently.
Is there any further discussion, Senator Favola? I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
No.
want to put it in proper form. Okay. Anybody else want to talk about this bill? The last bill before crossover. Hearing none, the motion is to pass by indefinitely. Open the roll.
Four ayes, 9 nays.
4 ayes, 9 nays. So now the primary motion remains to report the bill. Right? I've got this in proper form. Okay. So any discussion on that motion? Hearing none?
Speaking to it very briefly.
Senator McClellan.
I think you're probably going to have.
634, Senator.
No, I know. I think you're probably going to have some folks reaching out to suggest a few amendments to deal with the issue that I just raised for.
Yes.
So if you, as long as you're open to that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good idea. And she is someone to be listened to on these kind of things. So I would definitely take her advice. Okay, the motion is to report the bill. Open the roll.
Thank you.
Close the roll.
9 ayes, 4 nays.
9 ayes, 4 nays. Senate Bill 1262 passes. How many bills are left on the calendar? Zippy? Ladies and gentlemen, I look out in the seats and there's nobody sitting there, but I want to thank everybody for coming and participating, being a part of this. Look at it again. Look, nobody's there. Oh,
By the way, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
while you were gone, we polled the audience, and they like me as chairman better than you.
absolutely right. I have no problem with that. I bet that was unanimous by voice vote. So for those reasons, I want to thank everybody for the hard work to get us to crossover, and now the committee shall rise.